It is your claim that the property was a mess.
Yes.
I don't think it needed to be cleaned. It had been cleaned.
There was dirt on the floor, there was bugs on the floor, there's black mold.
I paid to have it cleaned.
The refrigerator is disgusting. The stove is disgusting. It's disgusting.
It was clean.
I'm telling you that the place was disgusting.
This is Judy Justice. Adriana Alonzio and Tanner Krugel are suing their former landlord, Faith Schmidt, for a security deposit and emotional distress.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 3121, Alonzio Krugel versus Schmidt.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tell me your last name.
Krugel.
This is your...
Fiance.
The two of you were moving from one state to another.
Correct.
You were moving with what other family members?
Our 4 children.
And you were moving from what state to what state?
Wisconsin to Minnesota.
Whose mother lives in Minnesota?
Mine does.
That's your mom?
Yes.
So you needed a place to live?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry.
Your mother found a place, or did you?
I found the place initially.
You found the place?
Yes.
And your mother went to do a walkthrough to see if it was suitable for you and your 4 children?
Correct.
And found the defendants. Is it a home?
It's a single-family home.
That you own. When did you purchase it?
I believe I purchased it a month before I showed it to them, so no one had lived in it yet.
And when your mom looked at the place, it needed a good cleanup. And you acknowledged that, Ms. Schmidt, that it needed a good cleanup.
I do not.
Well, you sort of do in your answer, so that I want you to rethink what you just said to me. When you showed it to Mr. Krugel's mother, it needed a cleanup. You have to remember what you wrote in your answer. So if you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory.
I don't think it needed to be cleaned. It had been cleaned.
I have it in your answer, but I'll get to it in a minute. So you loaded your kids. I assume you took a U-Haul or something of the like, and you agreed to rent the property.
Yes.
And you sent a month's security and a month's rent?
Yes.
In total, how much money did you send?
$3,000.
Which you received and deposited.
Correct.
What date did you send the money?
October 30th. I have the receipts for that as well.
Yeah, she acknowledges she took it. Now, up until that time, you had not signed a lease.
Correct.
And you acknowledge that. They had not signed the lease. When you got there, it is your claim that the property was a mess.
Yes.
And you actually did not move into the property and want your security and your rent back.
Correct.
That's what the case is about. And I'm not exactly sure of what your defense is, but you'll tell me. Is your defense that they had no lease, or that they had a lease that they broke? What is your defense?
So we had an entire interaction. They actually did move into the property. They moved their belongings into the property.
Did you change the locks on the doors?
I did not.
At any time?
No. They're still the same locks that they were before.
You arrived on the property on what date?
November 13th.
Still no lease?
Correct. She mailed us the lease, and then we didn't have enough time to sign it and mail it back to her. And so we have in text message, she's saying we can just bring it with us, but we didn't want to sign it, so we...
Got it. So you got there on the 13th. I'd like you to describe what it looked like on the 13th.
Well, it was dark, so it was really hard to see anything. When we pulled up, the guys pulled the horse trailer in the back. So the guys were unloading that while Linda, myself, and my brother and the children started walking through the home, seeing where we were going to put everything, and that's when we started noticing, you know, it was just disgusting.
Well, tell me.
There's dirt on the floor, there was bugs on the floor, there's black mold, there was water damage in the walls that she said...
Did you take any photographs?
I have a lot of photographs.
May I see them, please?
Yes.
And this was the day you were moving in your things?
Correct.
Or the next day?
The day we were starting to move in. And then once we started to notice...
Just a second. Some of these I'll ask you to address, some I won't. There's a lot of water damage. Kevin, would you show these photographs to Ms. Schmidt, please? I'll take them back now. Ms. Schmidt, from whom did you purchase this house?
Edina Realty.
Was it a person or was the house foreclosed?
It was a person.
And how much did you pay for it?
I don't recall the exact price.
Give me a ballpark figure.
I would prefer not to disclose.
I don't care what you prefer. Give me a figure.
Around $100,000.
What do you mean around $100,000? What kind of work do you do?
I am a landlord. I'm a business owner. I have rental properties.
Okay, so that's what you do as a living.
Yes, that is
Okay.
a recent business that I've started.
Great. If it's a recent business, how many homes do you have?
I have 4.
Is this the last one that you purchased?
Yes.
How much did you pay for it?
I believe it was 100,000 something. It was between 100,000 and 110,000.
Yes.
I have a picture from the Zillow ad that tells the date that she purchased the home
See.
and how much she purchased it for. I also have a text message of her acknowledging the fact that her dad and the kids that cleaned the house said it was not clean enough
Just
the
a
day
sec.
before.
I'm not there yet.
Okay, sorry.
Well, the estimate for the house is $94,000. It's sold for $94,000. Is that right?
I believe so.
Okay. Now, in your answer to their request, which is their request for return of their deposit, although they're asking for a lot of other stuff, but it's for the return of their deposit, you say, since I had not even received the signed lease back yet, they were trespassing. That's what you wrote in your answer.
So
I
Linda,
had the unit cleaned that same day. The next night on November 13th, I met them as well as the other adults. Who cleaned the unit the same day on the 13th?
so I paid one of my employees to clean the unit previously, prior. I reached out after Linda entered the property.
No. Pay careful attention to my question.
I'm giving you a backstory.
I don't want a backstory.
Adriana Alonzio and Tanner Krugel claim their former landlord, Faith Schmidt, refuses to return their security deposits. Faith is countersuing for loss of income and harassment.
Now, you said the house was clean. Clearly, this is not a recently cleaned house.
I paid to have it cleaned, and then because Linda had complained,
You would acknowledge that these pictures that I
before
showed
Tanner-
you. Just a second, you don't talk over me. You do acknowledge that this house, as the photographs indicate, because they were only there for a day, the dead bugs, the black mold do not indicate a recently clean property.
Yes, ma'am. May I tell you more?
First, I'm asking you a question. You looked at the photographs, and you have to acknowledge that these photographs do not reflect a recently clean property ready for people to move into.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so when they got there, the place was not clean. When
Ma'am.
they arrived there with their 4 children, the
It was
place...
clean. These pictures were not taken by them. They were taken by Linda. Linda entered the premises before they were even there. She was not
On what
supposed to be
date?
there.
Just a second.
On the 12th. They did not arrive until the 13th. Linda took these photos. Linda reached out to me. Linda said the property was not clean. I have text messages that I hired someone to go over there and clean it afterwards, which he cleaned the stove, the air conditioner, the freezer, and
Show me. Okay, so now what you're saying is that the mother took these photographs.
Correct.
And after she called you and said that the place is not clean...
While I was working, I was doing something else. I immediately sent someone over there before I had any communication with Tanner or Adriana.
Just a second. Fine. I want you to understand this. These 2 people traveled from one state to another with 4 children, ranging in age from...
8 to, at the time, 14 months.
They wanted a place to live. They needed a place to live. If what you're telling me is that this is not a fair and accurate representation of what the place looked like when they got there...
It did not look like that when Tanner and Adriana arrived to the premises. It looked like that when Linda got there, which I was notified of, and immediately sent someone over to clean the premises.
Who?
I sent a hired kid. His name was Alex.
Is that you?
No.
Just a second. You just raised your hand. She said, I immediately sent somebody over there. I said, is that you? You raised your hand.
I also sent my dad over to ensure that the employee, he had done a good job cleaning. While I was doing something else, he also sent me videos of him cleaning out the freezer.
Just a second. I would like to see whatever photographs you have of what the place looked like before they got there. Show me. You already have a complaint, and you're a landlord. You have a complaint that the place was disgusting.
Correct.
And you have 1 day to clean it all up.
Yep.
Not yep, that's a yes.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't bring me the person who cleaned it. I assume you have photographs now that you know that there's a complaint. I assume you have photographs of what the place looked like when they arrived. That means no.
I didn't take photographs after, no.
Well, that's too bad.
I do have an inspection, though, a past inspection that says there is no mold in the home, and I've not made any alterations.
Just a second. Do you have that inspection for me to see?
Yes, ma'am.
After, on or about the 13th of November?
No.
No. Okay. Ms. Schmidt, this is not a difficult case. Either they had a lease or they didn't. In your answer, you said since they didn't have a lease, they were in fact trespassing.
They had no intention to sign the lease.
Just a second. No. You are incorrect, because that's not common sense. Common sense would suggest that people who are traveling across state borders with 4 small children need a place to live. They sent mother-in-law to look for a place to live.
And she said it was very nice.
Just a second. They sent her, I don't know what assurances they had with regard to cleaning it out. I don't know what her level of cleanliness is, but I know I wouldn't move into this place after having paid somebody $3,000. This place is disgusting. The refrigerator is disgusting. The stove is disgusting. The bugs are disgusting. The wood is disgusting. It's disgusting. Now, you want to be a slum landlord. That's your problem. But either they have a lease or they don't have a lease. If they don't have a lease, then they get their money back because they didn't move in to live. That's not difficult, sir, is it?
No, but I'd like to say something.
Sure, stand up and say whatever you like and uncross your arms when you do it.
Okay. When she called and said that Linda had called to complain about the place, so I did go up there and I met with Linda.
Linda is the mother.
Correct.
And?
Correct. And we talked and we went over what the problems were. And so, as to my knowledge, we agreed on the fix, and I seen to it that we had a couple people come over and clean.
Before or after lunch, sir? Did you have it cleaned with a couple of people before or after you and a couple of people had lunch?
I don't know what lunch has to do with it. I don't know nothing about
I know what lunch has to do with it. So you knew there was a problem and you went to the house on the 12th, according to you. They were due there on the 13th and the place was disgusting. You would agree with that?
Yeah, I don't agree with the mold because the city of Spring Valley has inspectors that come around and inspect for mold.
I'm telling you that the place was disgusting. It was not a place where I moved into dozens of properties in my life, both inexpensive and expensive. The inexpensive ones, when I moved in, were clean.
Sure.
That's the way when I moved out of a property, I left it. If your daughter wants to be in business for herself, then she's got to learn how to be in business a good way.
Sure.
Okay? You have to acknowledge she knew that these people were coming across state lines. They were coming across with little children because Linda let you know that.
I don't know anything about that.
You don't know who was moving in?
No, it's not.
Did you know who was moving in, Ms. Schmidt?
I didn't meet them personally. I met with Linda.
That's not what I asked you. Did Linda tell you that her son, her son's partner, and 4 children were moving into the house?
Yes.
Of course. This is not the way you expect a house to be. Common sense would indicate that you would then, after your father and his crew cleaned it, you would take photographs to show that it was not in this condition anymore.
Adriana Alonzio and Tanner Krugel are accusing their former landlord, Faith Schmidt, of renting them an uninhabitable property. Faith is countersuing, claiming the couple owes her for loss of income.
Now, I'm coming back to you. Either they have a lease or they don't have a lease.
We had a verbal agreement.
No, you have to have a lease in order to keep their security deposit. Did you have a lease? You said they had no lease, they were trespassing because you told them to get out.
So then they were trespassing.
Yes,
they were on my property without my permission.
Then they get their money back. What is so hard about that? Either they have a lease or they don't have a lease. You can't say they're trespassing on your property because at one point, part of the thing that they're suing about is because you went into the house and you came out with a handgun. Is that right?
Correct.
Correct. And because you felt as if you needed a handgun to defuse the situation that was developing on the 13th. Whatever it was, they left. They get their security deposit back and their month's rent. And if you want to be a big girl in a big girl's business, you got to do the right thing. This is not the right thing. Okay. You want to tell me, Ms. Schmidt, why you felt it necessary? Because I'm going to get rid of that part of your claim very quickly. Why you felt it necessary to come out with a gun on the 13th?
So when I went in there in an attempt to resolve the issues that they were complaining about the night of the 13th, I brought the walkthrough paperwork, and we were going to fill out a walkthrough with everything that needed to be addressed. Instead of accomplishing that, we were in...
Okay, so what room did you go into first?
I walked through the back door off the porch into the kitchen.
What did they complain about in the kitchen?
They complained about the cleaning.
What specifically about the cleaning?
They complained about the dirt behind the fridge. They complained about the state of the fridge.
What was the state of the fridge?
There were stains in the back of the fridge that were not coming off with any cleaning.
What else?
They complained about the stove.
And what about the stove?
The inside of the stove.
That it was filthy?
Correct.
Okay. And did you see that the inside of the stove was filthy?
Not on that day.
No. You know, I don't believe...
On the 13th, it was not filthy. It was cleaned by Alex. I had
If
cleaned. Those were... One of the stove and the fridge was very important to me that he cleaned those. We also talked about getting them new appliances because they weren't satisfactory. I was going above and beyond to appease them, and I told them that I would look for new appliances, that I wouldn't be able to provide them overnight, but that I would be looking for them and provide them with new appliances.
She has that in text.
That she was going to provide new appliances?
Yes.
Because the ones that were existing were unsatisfactory.
Yeah.
They get their security deposit back, $3,000. Your counterclaim is ludicrous. Lost income, damages due to false claims, rent, utilities, and harassment. How did they harass you?
She has reported my Facebook account, so I no longer can advertise. So I've had to do alternative routes of advertising. Before, it never cost me anything to advertise. Now I have to pay for advertising through the newspaper. I bought a rental sign. I've done things.
What was the harassment? She complained about what happened to her family when they came to this property that they were renting.
Harassment wasn't the word that I would use.
Well, what would you use?
She's dragging my name through the mud. She's going to the local bars. I have heard from
Just a second. You can't tell me rumors. If you have somebody who can testify that she said something about what?
No. My dad can testify because his employees are telling him.
He can't tell me what his employees. Listen to me. He can't tell me what his employees are telling him. He can tell me if they said something to him. So what? Did you finally find a place to live?
No, we have not.
Since November?
Correct.
Where are you staying?
Right now, we're staying at my parents' house. We had to move back to Wisconsin, so we are on air mattresses in my parents' family room.
Why were you moving?
To be closer to his family.
Anybody have a job?
He had a job, a potential job lined up.
In Minnesota?
Correct, yes.
What kind of work?
Property maintenance management.
What are you doing now?
Nothing right now. I started a new job in Milwaukee on Monday.
He had to turn down a really good job offer in Minnesota because we didn't have a
That's
permit.
all. I just asked him what he was doing now, not woulda, shoulda, coulda. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. Counterclaim, whatever it is for, I don't even know, is dismissed. Thank you very much. We're finished.
This court's adjourned.
I did offer them 3/4 of their deposit back.
We wanted it all back. We didn't live there.
I put forth my best effort to find them new appliances, to hire someone to do cleaning. I believe I went above and beyond.
We had a verbal agreement that the house was going to be in livable condition, and as you can tell by the pictures, it was not livable.
Differently in the future, I think instead of hiring someone to clean, I'm probably going to clean myself, and I'm going to take photo evidence and videos of everything.
She knew a month ahead of time that we were coming, so it's not like it was sprung onto her the day before like she's trying to claim.
I'm not going to go out of my way to give them access to the property before I'm there. I'm going to do the walkthrough and ensure the lease is signed before they have access to the property to avoid this.
Being a landlord is not the job for her.
You know, I remember moving in somewhere when I was a junior in college, and, you know, they always take advantage of us college students. We'll live anywhere, sleep anywhere, we don't really care. But it wasn't clean when my roommate and I moved in. And I remember when we did the walkthrough thinking that if I ever became a landlord or, you know, anything in this realm of realty, that I would make sure that all the places that I would expect other people not only to live but to pay money for was up to the standard of somewhere that I would live. And I think that the defendant couldn't even say that she would be willing to move in there and live there in the condition that it was in, either on the 12th or the 13th. You know, that's a big deal.
Yeah, they wanted a place to live.
So I think her claim that they never planned on signing the lease or they were trying to take advantage of her, I don't believe any of that. No mother packs up an 18-month-old for no reason.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they were hoping to make a new life. It didn't work out. Yeah, she's a young person to have a little real estate business, 4 properties that she owns, and I give her credit for that. But you can't be a slumlord.
Yeah, I give her credit too.
Yeah.
But if you want 4 properties, they have to be 4 properties that you'd be willing to live in yourself, not
That's
subpar.
the answer. That's the answer. I gather that all of you are very involved in cars.
Yes, Your Honor.
I was talking about how I wanted rims on my car, and he was like, oh, maybe I should get new rims on mine.
The rims that you wanted, she gave you the money.
Yes, Your Honor.
His girlfriend would not.
Why wouldn't you?
And just wouldn't.
Smart girl.
I know.
This is Judy Justice. Bailiff Cassandra Britt is standing in for Bailiff Kevin Roscoe, and Law Clerk Alexi Mincer is sitting in for Law Clerk Sarah Rose. Skylar Ramirez is suing her former friend, Chris Martinez, for an unpaid loan and harassment.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 3073, Ramirez versus Martinez, Judge.
Thank you, Cassandra.
Yes.
Miss Ramirez, this gentleman is a friend of your boyfriend.
Yes, was.
He was a friend of your boyfriend.
Yes.
No longer, I assume, because of this incident.
Yeah.
And I gather that all of you are very involved in cars, fixing them up, souping them up, making them pretty, whatever it is. It is your claim that the defendant, Mr. Martinez, wanted rims for his car. I must tell you, I haven't had a rims case in many years. And rims are expensive. The rims that you wanted, sir, were $1,200.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you didn't have the $1,200.
No, Your Honor.
And according to you, Ms. Ramirez, you gave him $800 of the $1,200 as a loan.
Yes, Your Honor.
We'll get into the specifics of how that came about, and you haven't been repaid. That's why you're here.
Yes, Your Honor.
How long have you known each other?
The 2 of us, like 7, 8 months maybe.
What's your boyfriend's name?
Nathan.
Nathan, how long have you known Mr. Martinez?
I've known him for a couple years now, maybe about 6 years.
6 is more than a couple.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
6 years. Mr. Ramirez, I want you to tell me the circumstances surrounding this transfer of $800 to Mr. Martinez.
It was a conversation between the 2 of us. He explained that
Just the 2 of you? Your boyfriend wasn't there?
it was just the 2 of us at Brittany's house, and we were.
Who's Brittany?
Brittany is his girlfriend.
Was it your house?
Yes. We had a conversation that he wanted to acquire some rims and didn't have the credit score for it.
Didn't have the credit score?
Yes.
Okay. So you were originally going to take out a loan to buy the rims?
Yes, Your Honor.
And when was that, Mr. Martinez?
It was towards the end of March of 2023.
You went to a finance company?
I used to work for a tire shop, and they do financing there. And then that's when Ms. Ramirez.
No, Ms. Ramirez isn't a mind reader, so somehow you had to have a conversation with her.
I brought it up with my girlfriend.
Brought it up with your girlfriend?
Yes, I talked about it with my girlfriend.
Hold on.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Tell me your name.
Brittany Gallardo.
I want you to tell me the first conversation you had with your boyfriend about these rims.
Yeah, we were just talking about
Just the
both of
2
our
of you?
cars. Yes, just both of our cars. I was talking about how I wanted rims on my car, and he was like, oh, maybe I should get new rims on mine. And then from there, that's when...
No. Just the 2 of you.
Mm-hmm.
So you said you wanted new rims on your car. He said maybe I should get new rims on mine.
Mm-hmm.
There had to be more than that. You know, he's your boyfriend. You live together?
No.
What does that mean?
He stays over every once in a while.
Okay. I want you to tell me the conversation that you had with your boyfriend when she wasn't there initially about buying rims.
That was the first time we ever really had that conversation.
Okay, well, the first time you had the conversation,
Yeah.
the issue of money had to come up.
I told him I didn't have money for mine, and
You said I
that
don't
we
have-
had to work on getting the money for rims first.
So you said, I don't have money for rims for mine. It's not an answer. Yes, I'm sure
Yes,
you mean
ma'am.
yes, Ms. Gallardo. And he said he's got to work on getting the money for his?
Yes, ma'am.
Were those his words?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, if it's my boyfriend, my next question would be, how are you going to do that? And what did he tell you?
He's looking for another job because he had just lost his job recently.
So he was going to look for another job?
Yes.
Did he talk to you about financing the rims?
No, ma'am.
He just said he was going to look for another job. Tell me about when this was. Do you remember what month?
Middle of March, beginning of March, somewhere in there.
Okay. There came a time when the plaintiff was at your house.
Yes.
And you were home.
Yes, ma'am.
And your boyfriend was there.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you present when he started to talk about his lust for rims with the plaintiff?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me the conversation.
They were talking about rims. And
No,
so I
she
brought up
wasn't-
the
she-
conversation that we had about him. And then she was like, oh, well, why don't you guys just get him? And I was like, well, I don't have the money right now, and he still has to find another job. So until that happens, you know, we can't really do much. And she was like, oh, well, you know, I could be your friend and I can help you guys finance, but the work that he does on my car should be free.
Careful what you say to me. Be really careful.
Yes.
You want to be helpful, but don't get ensnared in the web.
Okay.
Because I weave that.
Yes, ma'am.
So she was there. You started to talk about rims,
Yes, ma'am.
financing them. She said, I could help you guys out by financing.
Yes.
And you had tried to finance.
No, Your Honor, I haven't tried.
Okay, so you hadn't gone to anyone else about financing.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so she said, I could help you guys out financing. And what did your boyfriend say?
No. Sorry.
Scalardo, right here.
So-
Not him. You know, he may be permanent, he may be temporary, you never know. This tape is forever.
I know. I know.
Good. I mean, 10 years from now, you probably will have to look at pictures to remember what he looks like. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Skylar Ramirez claims her former friend, Chris Martinez, refuses to pay back a loan for car rims.
Okay, she said, I think I could help you out financing. And?
They had their conversation. I went inside because I have kids. So I just went inside.
Oh, so you didn't hear?
So I heard the conversation from the door because I just went to go check on the kids. But I said, I would rather you wait until we can do it on our own. And so their conversation came up because she had already gotten work done on her car. So, and she kind of already owed him.
There's no almost kind
well,
of...
she owed him money for the labor that he was doing on her car. And because of that, he was like, well, if you do that, we can just call it even. And
You heard that?
Yes, ma'am. And so she was like, so you're going to do my car for free? And he said, yeah, I'll work on your car for free, but you have to finance and pay for the rims. That day that they went to go get the rims, I guess, he had to put cash out of his own pocket to get the rims that day.
How much, sir?
I put $400 down.
You put down $400, but the rims were $1,200.
She got financed for $800. The rims, cash-wise, were $1,200 out the door cash. There were more because interest, so I put $400 down.
So she gave you $8.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that was sometime in March.
Yes, Your Honor.
Between March and May, what work did you do on her car?
Every time they needed something done on their car, they'd show up to my girlfriend's house late, around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, asking for work to get done. I've done oil changes on the car, their brakes, spark plugs.
I asked you a specific question. Between March, which is the time that she advanced $800 towards your rims, and May, what work did you do on her car?
Your Honor, it varies. I've done multiple stuff within that time period.
This is her boyfriend. He used to be your friend.
Yes, Your Honor.
He's not your friend anymore.
No, Your Honor.
You want to tell me why?
Because this whole situation, the way it turned out to be, he's just going off what she says. He's
Well, you've
following
been
her.
friends for 6 years. Did you have a discussion with him? Because there came a time when she wanted her money back. Because now she's got this loan that's built up interest, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And so you had to have had a discussion with
Nathan.
Nathan.
Nathan really's never talked to me about anything. It's always Skylar going through his phone on his Instagram, talking to me about it, or having other people call me.
May I say
Nathan? Nathan, did you ever have, after the exchange of this money and after your girlfriend took out this loan, did you ever have a conversation with Mr. Martinez?
I did not personally know.
Did you have any email or text exchange with him?
On my account, yes, Your Honor.
Do you have a copy of that?
this was later on, like a month after the financing.
Well, this is in April. I assume that this is you saying, ain't trying to rush you, bro, but we need the money.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have half of the 50?
Yes, Your Honor.
And he says, I don't, bro. I always have 3 kids to take care of. You have 3 kids?
I have 3, Your Honor.
Okay. You're good. I wasn't even trying to be like that. Don't take it the wrong way. I'm not, bro. I don't want you guys to think I'm blanking you all over. What does that mean?
I don't want them to feel like I'm screwing them over, Your Honor.
Screwing them over for what? For the money?
Yeah.
For the money. Well, that would indicate to me, Mr. Martinez, that you acknowledge that you owed him money. But you have 3 kids to take care of, and you didn't have the money.
The initial agreement when I got the rims was I work on their car. That was the initial agreement.
That's in March. You said that I would work on their cars. That's what you said.
Yes, Your Honor.
Initial agreement is that I would work on their cars. And so I specifically asked you, what work did you do on their cars from March until May? Which was actually a pretty reasonable question, because these texts were the end of April. And you said, I changed spark plugs, I changed the oil.
I've done brakes. I've installed aftermarket parts for them.
Just a second. When is my question? I just want to know what you did for them after she gave you the money. Were you supposed to sell this car, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you sell it?
No, Your Honor.
Why not? Is not an answer.
Just people lowball me.
You have a Mitsubishi?
Yes, Your Honor.
2000.
Yes, Your Honor.
Where'd you get it from?
I traded one of my last vehicles for it.
You traded?
Yes.
What did you trade it for?
I had a 2013 Cadillac ATS, and I traded my homeboy with it, and he gave me cash on top as well.
When?
I want to say beginning of February.
Oh, so you didn't have this car very long, so it was your intention of flipping the car once you put rims on it?
Not even that. I was going to sell it with stock rims, too.
Then what'd you invest $400 of your own money and $800 of her money for?
I wasn't going to sell it, the vehicle with the rims on it. People that messaged me about it, I told them I'm selling it with stock wheels, because I'm not going to lose $400 out of my own pocket. So.
Does he take care of your cars?
He did change our brakes. He did.
On one car or 2 cars? One car.
One car, Your Honor.
You live together?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so he changed the brakes. Do you remember when he did that?
March.
What else did he do?
He did a spark plugs a few days later, and then there was a leak in like our router or something like that in the brakes, and he changed that. But other than that, it was like small little things. He painted our rims. We helped him paint the rims together and stuff.
When you go over to where they live, he does it at his house?
No, he does it at Brittany's house, his girlfriend. We would text him and I'd tell him that I get off late, and he said to just come through later on in the day whenever I'm off work. So it would be late, and I would let them know that, and they were okay with it until a time, and then they told me that's not okay, and I said that's fine. Like, I respect the boundaries.
What arrangements did you make to pay him?
Anytime he would do our thing for us, like the brakes, for instance, he told us that it'd be $50. And I told him that I'd cash app it to him, and I cash apped him $50.
So you paid him for the brakes?
Yes.
$50?
Yes.
And you can show me that?
I have it on my phone.
Did she pay you $50 for the brakes? She's going to show me that
for the
she
brakes,
did.
yes.
Spark plugs?
I've never received a payment for spark plugs.
Spark plugs?
No, he said that he would do the labor for it if we paid for the parts.
And how much were the parts?
Altogether, because we bought it with the brakes, it was like $156, somewhere around there and some change.
Okay, and you paid for the parts?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now, Mr. Martinez, I'd like you to give me some indication of how many hours it took you to change the spark plugs.
Roughly about 30 to 45 minutes.
30 minutes. And then you said there was a router.
Rotor.
Yeah, sorry.
And was that also around the same time in March?
Yeah, it was all around the same time. We were supposed to do it the same night, and then he exclaimed that it was getting late and if we can do it another night.
Okay, so far you've paid him $50. Did you pay him anything for the router?
No, he said he was going to do that because he noticed it was leaking.
So he did those things within a 48-hour period?
Around there or some.
And for that, you sent him $50?
Yes, ma'am.
Which you acknowledge you got?
Yes, Your Honor.
Those are the things that you said were done, right?
That, oil change.
Oh, just a second. When did you do an oil change?
I did the oil change the same day I did the spark plugs.
Okay, so it was all done within a 48-hour period. And after you did that work, and it took you an evening, it got a little late, so you did some the next day, you charged her $50, which she sent you.
I charged her $50 for the brakes. I never got paid for doing the oil change.
Well, oil change is nothing. It's certainly not $800.
Skylar Ramirez is accusing her former friend, Chris Martinez, of owing her the balance of a car rims loan.
Do you understand what I'm talking about, Mr. Martinez?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so now we're at a place where I've just eliminated most of your defense because you said you did work on her car so many hours, 50 hours or whatever it is, and you were never paid for it, so it was part of the agreement. So now I have you worked on the car, according to you, over a 24 or perhaps 48-hour period, but you have a full-time job, so you were doing it in the evening. And she didn't pick this $50 out of the air. You must have said, I'll do it all for you for $50.
No, Your Honor.
No?
No.
Okay. How much did you tell her it was going to be, sir?
I told her for spark plugs and oil change, that's $30 a piece. I'm helping.
Just a second. Spark plugs and oil change was $30, so that's $60. Okay? And the brakes?
Brakes, I charge them $50.
Be careful what you tell me, because, you start to get dry mouth. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So you charge a $50, $30 each for those two things and the brakes.
I just charged for labor. So when
And how much was that?
With that was $110.
You're making that up as going along. What did you do with the $50 she sent you?
I kept that.
You kept it?
That was my pay.
You kept it?
For the brakes.
Pay for what? The brakes?
The brakes.
Right. So now, at most, she owes you $60. Is that my math correct, Mr. Mensah? At most, she owes you $60 because you said $30 for the spark plugs and $30 for the oil change. Where do you get $800?
I did their exhaust. I put a aftermarket wing on their car.
Just a second. When?
This was all in the span of maybe 2 weeks to a month before we stopped being friends.
Ms. Ramirez, now I want you to tell me about the conversations because I've been on that team for a while. Mm-hmm. Now I want you to tell me your version of how it came about that you took out this loan for $800.
So the conversation was at Brittany's house, and the three of us were there. We communicated that he didn't have enough credit, and he asked if I would finance for him because Brittany would not. So I exclaimed,
why wouldn't you, Brittany? You couldn't or you wouldn't?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Smart girl.
I know. I don't know.
Smart girl. You're thinking about that photograph, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure am.
So?
Yeah. And
he said Brittany would not, and?
Brittany would not, and so he asked if I would do it for him, and I said, well, yes, of course. Like, we're friends. I will help you out, but we have to make an agreement because I want to make sure that I'm not losing any money out of pocket because I'm just doing this to help a friend. And he said yes. We went to the place on March 29th. We went to the Rims place, and they told us the papers right here of how much it would be together, $1,800. The payments are $71.40 every other week. And he said that he would pay me every other week so nothing had to come out of my pocket. We never made an agreement of he would do the car, whatever.
I'm not talking about the car.
But I had no idea that he paid any money out of pocket. On the lease, it says nothing about him paying any cash money whatsoever, and that's why the total is so high. And
do you have any communications with him other than what Nate has shown me about the loan?
This is the cash app. He sent $50 and then called me and asked if he can have 20 back for gas. And so, as you can see, it was in a period of time.
Mr. Martinez, what did you send her $50 for?
That was towards the rims because I was getting harassed every day about it.
Just a second. So this was payment, a $50 payment for the rims, but then you asked for cash money back.
I never asked for money back.
So you paid her $50 towards the rims, and you did that beginning of April.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then I see another payment.
No, that was the 20 that I
she gave you back.
He called to ask for some back.
Did you ever borrow money from him?
No, Your Honor.
Because it says, I'm confronting you on a big boy issue.
Yes.
We always paid you back.
I'm talking about the parts where he did like the spark plugs and the brakes and all that. He said that I never paid him, but he knows that I did pay them for that.
So that's what you were talking about?
Yes, that's what I was talking about.
We always paid you back. How much do you owe the finance company now?
Today, if I were to make the purchase, it would be $892.15. But that's already after I made payments already.
And how much did you make in payments that you can prove to me? Ms. Gallardo, how long have you known him?
Way too long. I want to say 13, 14 years now.
You live together?
No.
Is he the father of these children?
No.
Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a masseuse.
You support your kids?
Yes, ma'am.
What about him? Does he support his?
Yes, as much as he can.
Well, you know, you have to eat regularly.
Right. He does, mechanical work and stuff. He goes and spends time with his kids.
But, you know, if you have 3 kids and you don't work all the time or work at a not high-paying job,
Right.
doesn't it sound moronic to spend $1,200 on rims for a car?
Yes, ma'am.
Sounds like something a 10-year-old would do, you know, not somebody who was a responsible parent. Because you have kids.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you said, I'd love to put rims on my car, you said, I can't afford it.
Yeah, I can't afford it right now.
Ta-da! How much did you make in payments?
Altogether, I made $416 in payments. I had some late
So you
fees.
paid so far $1,316. Is that correct, Lexi?
$890 and $416.
Yeah.
I have $1,306.
Yeah, $1,306 is what you paid so far. The $890 would clear the debt?
Yes, it would make it your own.
Now, $1,306. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much. Remember that picture?
Yes, ma'am.
Case is now closed. Court is adjourned.
She was just being immature about it.
I think she made the right decision.
I'm a parent of 3, and I'd rather not put myself in a hole that I can't get myself out of.
Yeah, I really wanted it to work out, but I feel like it was just immaturity that made it go like that.
Stick to the agreement that we had, which was working on the car.
Every time he done work on our car, we always paid him.
Friends come and go.
The world works in mysterious ways, and I think he just likes it that way.
So, Alexi, let me tell you my takeaway from this case, which has nothing to do with the law. It has to do with Miss Gallardo, who I found absolutely charming. I actually found the plaintiff and her boyfriend also honest and charming. The defendant, on the other hand, is a hustler. And it's interesting that Miss Gallardo knows he's a hustler because that lady smiled when I say, remember the picture. 10 years, you won't remember him because he has 3 kids, takes care of them, she says, as best he can. Well, you can't take care of them as best you can if you don't have a job. And then not to have a job and to want $1,200 rims for your car. She knew it was ridiculous. Now you're served with a restraining order by your mother.
Yes.
And in retaliation for that, she slashed your tires.
Right. She admitted to carrying the knife, Your Honor.
I can't ask her whether or not she slashed your tires. She's going to say no, right?
Yes.
She's going to get caught eventually. Right now, she's been clever, but she's not that clever.
This is Judy Justice. Jasmine Brandley is suing her future stepdaughter, Nyaria Williams, for defamation and the cost of 3 tires.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. How are you? Case number 3084, Brandley versus Williams.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Brantley, you are in a relationship with the defendant's mother.
That is correct.
For how long?
Over a year now.
I assume that when you met the defendant's mother, the defendant was living with her mom.
That's correct, Your Honor.
It is your claim that at some point the defendant and you developed an acrimonious relationship, and that as a result of that, she was asked to leave the home, and in retaliation for that, she slashed your tires.
She was never asked to leave the home. She voluntarily decided she was going to leave the home.
Let's say that that's a given, but it is your claim that as a result of leaving the home, and there's no question she left the home because you were there.
We weren't sure exactly what the reason was. She didn't make a reason as to why she was leaving the home.
She left, and it is your claim that after she left, she slashed 3 of your tires.
That is correct, Your Honor.
Ms. Williams says she did not slash your tires, but that she still has property in the house that she shared with her mother before the 2 of you were in a relationship. Do you live together now?
Yes, ma'am.
When did the 2 of you move in together?
I moved into the home, I want to say the exact time frame was around April of 2023.
And when did you move out of the home, Miss Williams?
I moved out June 28th of 2023.
So a couple of months later.
Yes.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding your leaving the home.
My mother texted me and said her girlfriend was feeling uncomfortable and she wanted to focus on her and her relationship, and I needed to go and focus on myself.
You have that email. I'd like to see it. Kevin.
Okay, so he's right there.
So you had this discussion with your mother, and what I'm gathering is that you and the plaintiff started to have some nasty texts back and forth.
There was no back and forth, Your Honor. She was just texting me nasty.
And you have those texts?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to take a look at them.
And she also had
your
other people
response
texting
to
me.
your mother is that bum paying bills?
Yes.
Okay. And then your mother tells you right now, time for you to go.
Yes.
And then you say, okay, I just want to grab my TV and bear.
Yeah, I want to at least grab that for tonight, and then I would have came back and got the
Just to
rest
say,
of my
well, that's what I need. Need to unlock the door so I can grab my TV and bear. I assume that's a teddy bear, not an animal?
No, it's a bear.
Okay. Let's see the text.
And I never responded to these texts, Your Honor. Thank you so much.
These are just phone messages. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. She put my number on social media, and people were texting me asking for sexual favors.
Just a second.
No problem, Your
You'll
Honor.
get there.
I apologize.
You'll get there.
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
So you moved out.
Yes.
Now tell me about the tires.
She was moving out, had her things. We know she carries a knife. She's always showing it and bragging
Just a
about
second.
it.
She acknowledges she came back to the house with a knife. She acknowledges that. Is that correct?
Yes.
What kind of a knife?
It's a small pocket knife.
Show me. This I don't understand.
Yeah. Oh,
I
my
want
bad.
you to show me. Is it this size
this
when it's
big.
opened? So
Yes.
it's a little bit bigger.
Yeah, just a little bit bigger than that.
It's a little.
Just a small one that you can fit in your pocket. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty big knife. Okay. So you came back to get your things, and you had the knife with you.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
So we did not confront her while she was getting her things. We looked out the window. We could see her carrying the bags as she was dragging them down the walkway past the apartment building. That was maybe about 1 in the morning. We woke up for work, I say maybe around 6:45 time frame. We go outside. The driver's side tire was completely flattened, and the left side passenger front and the rear passenger side tire, they both had tire slashes in them, and we had to get them all three replaced. They were unrepairable due to the puncture in those tires, Your Honor.
Okay.
And I have pictures and documentation for that as well.
The issue is not whether your tires were punctured, but whether you have proof that the defendant did it. The tires were fine when you went to sleep.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the defendant came after midnight,
Yes, ma'am.
collected her things in suitcases.
Mostly like bags, not really suitcases.
How did you get into the house that night? Almost not an answer. Did you have a key?
Yes.
Okay. And nobody had changed the locks.
They changed it the next day.
Nobody had changed the locks on you then?
Then, no.
So you were able to come and get things?
Yes.
So now you have to give me proof that she slashed your tires. You can imagine that she did, but what evidence do you have that she slashed your tires?
Your Honor, no one knows, other than the family, that I was living with them at the time in that area. I have no outstanding confrontational beef. I don't have any problems with anyone in the
anybody
neighborhood.
else?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
That's circumstantial, but insufficient in the law that she's the only one that you had a beef with, the fact that she was there. It's not enough evidence for any court, even a court where the quantum of proof is little, that she did in fact slash your tires. The evidence that you have is that you don't have a beef with anybody else, correct?
I didn't have any
And you couldn't think of anybody else who would want to do that, and she was there in the vicinity that night.
Within the time frame, yes, ma'am, Your Honor. She left maybe around 1 o'clock. By 6 in the morning, the tires were slashed.
Well, you weren't out at 1 o'clock in the morning. You went to sleep at what time?
Maybe around 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m.
And then you got up at 6?
Yes, ma'am.
But you hadn't been outside. When did you park the car?
I'm not sure of the exact time, Your Honor.
Was it before dinner or after dinner?
Probably before dinner.
And you have dinner at what time?
More than likely, maybe around 10:45 p.m.
10:45?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so your car was parked before 10 o'clock, and the next time you saw it was 6 in the morning. Okay, well, that's a big window. I can't ask her whether or not she slashed your tires. She's going to say no, right?
Jasmine Brandley is suing her future stepdaughter, Nairia Williams, for defamation and the cost of 3 tires. Nairia is countersuing Jasmine for her belongings and lost wages.
I can't ask her whether or not she slashed your tires. She's going to say no, right?
Even if you look at the tires, you can tell the 3, only 1 is flat. If they all got slashed at the same time, they all would be flat.
If it's
But
1 or 3. That's not the point.
I did not know.
She told others that she did admit to it.
I did not.
Oh, just a second. Who did she admit it to?
Her coworkers, also.
Oh, no.
friends.
Do you have a co-worker here? All I need is a witness.
My witness can confirm.
That she admitted it to them?
To the other coworkers as well. They work at the same location, Your Honor.
Did your witness, did she admit to slashing the tires to your witness?
She's admitted to both me and my witness that she would do harm to us and to me.
Is this your witness?
Yes, ma'am. This is my fiance.
Your last name is?
Williams.
Miss Williams, this is your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
You work at the same place?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Did your daughter admit to you anything about the tire incident?
No.
Okay, sit down. Do you have a police report?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to see the police report.
Yes, ma'am.
Did the police interview any witnesses?
No, ma'am. They said I had to file domestic violence restraining order, which I did.
Was that granted?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
I'd like to see that, too.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, you got a temporary restraining order you got on your own. She wasn't present when you first got it.
Correct.
Did you go back for a final hearing?
She never appeared.
So the answer is you went back.
3 times, Your Honor.
And she didn't appear?
She never appeared.
So it was granted on default?
Yes, ma'am.
I never received anything about going to court. The only paperwork they gave me was about the tires. They never presented me with anything.
What I have to tell you is this. Currently, there is a restraining order, that's what she says, against you. And if what you're telling me is you were not properly served, I would move to vacate that order because you're at risk if you don't. I don't actually believe that you weren't notified to come to court on 3 separate occasions. I think that you just decided to be a smart aleck and not go.
No, I really didn't know.
Really?
I knew my mother had one against me because the cop did mention that when he dropped the paper off.
When your mother filed a restraining order against you, then there was a return date. Did you go to court?
No.
Is not an answer.
Oh,
Did you go to court? Now you're served with a restraining order by your mother, and you got a date. You ignored it.
No, they pushed it back. I didn't get a new court date. That's what I'm saying.
But did you ever go?
Because I had moved.
Just a second. Did you go to the first one?
No.
No, you didn't. You ignored it.
I didn't know about them.
No, you said you knew about the first one. You didn't know
and
about.
then it got moved. I
Just a
wasn't able
second.
to get to it.
You knew about the first one.
Yes.
Yes, and you didn't go.
Yes, it got moved.
Right. No, had nothing to do with moving. If you knew about the first one, you knew you were supposed to be there the first date. You didn't go, and they adjourned it for another date to give you another opportunity to come. And then you said you moved. Then you say you didn't get the second date. Well, but you got the first date and you ignored it.
The date got moved. That's what I'm saying.
No, courts don't get moved up. They get pushed ahead, not moved up. They get pushed ahead if somebody doesn't appear. That would have been you. Didn't appear the first time. Are you trying to confuse me?
No,
because I'm old?
No, I would never want to do that.
So far, there are 2 protective orders. So your mother has one against you, too.
That's what the cop said, yes.
Your mother has one against you also.
Yeah, that's what the cop said.
Do you have a protective order?
So that's why I don't know what's going on all the way.
Miss Williams, did you file for a protective order against your daughter?
No.
You never did?
No, only my fiance did. I never did.
Oh, okay, fine. Now you can sit down. So the answer is, Miss Williams, your mother never filed for a protective order against you. Okay. Only the plaintiff.
All right.
Okay. So far, we don't have a confession, right?
We had the threats that were made, Your Honor.
To do you harm. That's
what she tried to do.
Okay. Miss Brantley?
Yes, ma'am.
It's not sufficient. I'm telling you, in all probability, Miss Williams, who's a little bit of a wise guy, did in fact slash your tires when she came to get her things. All probability that happened. But there's no evidence.
She admitted to carrying the knife, Your Honor.
Yes, I know. She told me. I saw it. She took a knife with her. It's not enough evidence to connect her to doing the damage to your car.
What about the credible threats, Your Honor? The threats that she made towards me?
You have a protective order against her, correct? If she violated that protective order, you go back to court and you file a violation of the order of protection. And if they find that that's true, she's going to go to jail for contempt of the order. That's your remedy. You have a protective order that lasts until when?
Right now, Your Honor, we're attempting to locate her. She's not responding to the summons officer's calls or texts.
I have not received no calls or texts.
You don't know her address.
Don't speak. What does that mean? Do you currently have a protective order?
It expired temporarily. We could not summon her.
Oh, well, that's...
We don't know where she's located.
Okay.
I went to court 4 different occasions, and she wouldn't appear. They could not locate her. And she's aware that we're trying to serve her.
Okay. You're suing her for 3 slash tires, which I can't find in good conscience that she did, even though probably in the back of my mind that I know that she did because there's insufficient proof. And the other cause of action is for defamation.
Correct.
What's the defamation?
She posted my cell number to social media requesting sexual favors. I was receiving calls and texts.
Just a second.
At all hours of the night.
Just a second. Can I see what it was that you're alleging someone posted?
Yes.
May I see it?
And you already have the page that has all the different text messages that were coming from the number. And all these numbers...
Just a second. Just a second. Oh. That text message that you're referring to came from this phone number that's on here?
Yes, ma'am. If you look at all the messages on that one page, Your Honor, they were all from the Chicago area, the same area that is her zip code for her phone.
My mom's zip code, too.
So this is not her phone number that created this text message?
So that is a screenshot that someone sent me of my number being posted on social media.
I understand that.
Yes.
And you have to connect her with that.
They're all coming from the same area code as hers, Your Honor. I don't know anyone else with the area code in that location. I'm not from the Chicago area. And if you look at that one page of evidence, I received over 10, 15, 20 different contacts, all from the Chicago area, asking for sexual favors.
That's, again, probably true. Either she or someone at her behest. But you understand, there's no proof that it came from her number, that it came from Chicago, that the numbers were the same area code. The area code is in Chicago? Is that what you're telling me?
Chicago area, that is correct.
Chicago area. Well, that's a very big area, madam.
I've never received any calls or texts from that area code ever before, until the incident, at all hours of the night, Your Honor. I'm not a sex worker, in all respect.
Jasmine Bradley is accusing her future stepdaughter, Nyaria Williams, of defamation and slashing her tires. Nyaria is countersuing Jasmine for her belongings and lost wages.
She's going to get caught eventually. Right now, she's been clever.
She needs to be held accountable, Your Honor.
But she's not that clever. So right now, she's going to get caught. Miss Williams?
Yes.
You submitted paperwork to the court when you came here. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you have any proof that the plaintiff ever threatened you?
I'm sorry.
Proof?
That's right. Is not an answer.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't find it.
Just a second. So you have no proof that the plaintiff ever threatened you?
Correct.
Other than the fact that your mother told you it's time for you to go, other than that, did your mother ever threaten you? That you can prove. That's either a yes or a no.
No.
I want your address now. Now.
Okay.
Where?
Jacksonville, Florida. I'm still in Florida.
We will verify that with the clerk who took her papers, and we're going to give you that address. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now you have her address. So if you want to file for a protective order, you know where to serve her. And if she's evading service, you can get substituted service, what they call nail and mail. You mail it to her at her address, which she's given you, and you have a marshal tack it on to her front door, and then she's been served. Got it?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. What about the tires, Your Honor?
I explained to you, you don't have sufficient proof that she slashed your tires. Probably did, but you have no proof. The fact that she threatened to do you harm, the fact that she was there within that period between 10 p.m. when you had dinner and 6 a.m. when you saw the cars is a wide window. She probably did it, but you need proof that she did it, and you don't have it. And you don't have anybody to whom she confessed. You could have brought somebody, if you say she did actually confess to a coworker, you could have brought that witness, but you didn't. You chose to bring a witness who really couldn't contribute to your case. Do you understand? I'm just telling you, with a confession, and you had the tires, and she had the opportunity, and she had the mechanism, but you need something other than that. That's
the threats weren't a confession, Your Honor?
No. Okay. Now, you're counterclaiming for illegal lockout. Forget it. Your mother told you to leave. Money owed for belongings taken without permission. What belongings?
I had 2 bags of clothes still there.
You had 2 bags of clothes?
Yes, I had 2 big bags.
Just a second. And?
2 big bags of clothes. I had my shoes there, my work shoes as well. Okay. And then I had this big mattress I left as well. It was an air mattress. Super.
And?
That's about everything.
How did the plaintiff prevent you from getting that?
Because when I contacted them about getting my clothes...
Not them. How did the plaintiff prevent you from getting that stuff?
They changed the lock.
Not they. It's not...
Jasmine and Rika changed the locks, and I could not come and get my clothes.
Not they. You have to have proof that the plaintiff, you see, it works 2 ways.
Yeah.
You have to have proof that the plaintiff did something to prevent you getting your stuff. You went there to get stuff. Mm-hmm. You went there to get stuff on the night that her tires were slashed, and you were dragging out bags of stuff.
Not bags. I only had a couple items.
You had a couple of items just a second, that you came back to get at 1 o'clock in the morning?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I need to get dressed for work.
Miss Williams, your counterclaim is dismissed.
Yeah,
okay. Now you have her address. If you feel as if you still require a protective order, get it. If you had proof that she posted this, I'd give you a lot more than you were asking for in your complaint. But you need proof that she posted that, other than the fact that the number comes from Chicago.
I receive at least 10, 15, 20 different attempts to be reached out to me requesting sexual favors from the same area code.
I said if you can prove that she posted this, I understand the consequence.
A witness can confirm.
She also texted me that night. I have text message from her that night that she slashed the tires.
That says what? That was the night she came by at 1 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, she lived there.
So, and if that's an acknowledgement that she slashed your tires, we're in business.
Right.
Let me see. You say to her, so you going to flatten her tire? I hope you know the cops will be called. How did you know she was going to flatten the tire?
Because she had did it. She sent me all these text messages.
No, but nothing. You don't understand, Miss Williams. Nothing in the text messages before talk about a tire.
Right.
Nothing in the text messages talk about a tire. And the last thing that it says here is 3:45 in the morning on June 29th. So you're going to flatten her tire. I hope you know the cops will come. Did she respond to that?
Right. She wouldn't respond to that.
She doesn't respond to it.
Right. Correct.
Okay. That's all. Your counterclaim is dismissed. You have absolutely no claim against them. I've given you her address. If she continues to harass you and you want to file for a protective order and serve her, I've told you how you can do that. Do you understand?
Yes, Your
Great.
Honor.
Thank you very much. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
We know that she carries weapons and there was damage done to the vehicle. You can pretty much put the pieces together.
She's a joke, so I figured she was gonna say that. That's what clowns do, so I'm glad she got to do a circus act.
The word on the street that she did it.
I told her girlfriend she ain't paying no bills. So I told the bum to get some money, and I guess they didn't like that.
At one point, I thought that we could all be a happy family, but it's clearly not what she wants, and I do feel bad.
You ain't gonna get me to admit to that one.
You know, sometimes I wish we had even lower standards of proof than we do, because to you, to me, I'm pretty sure if we polled the audience, everybody out there would say the defendant definitely slashed those tires and probably posted the phone number of her mother's girlfriend online, insinuating that she would be open and willing to engage in sexual favors for strangers. But there is a standard of proof that they have to meet. And I was just waiting for the crumb of proof that we could hang our hat on for both issues.
Just opportunity and inclination doesn't allow a court to, in good conscience, find that she committed a crime. Mm-hmm. And both of those things would be criminal behavior.
Just with her attitude, I knew.
Her attitude.
I just, I wanted to prove and have that right little crumb to hang the hat on. But unfortunately...
Eventually, people with that kind of attitude
always get caught.
Always either get caught or get comeuppance.
Oh, yeah.
We were in an actual relationship for 5 years.
He took the dog, and you want the dog back?
Yes.
His anxieties were surrounded by her grandson because of the fact that he would beat him. He sprayed hairspray in the dog's eyes.
You don't make that up.
I don't think he over-disciplined.
This is not a tea party, madam. This is when you have to listen.
This is Judy Justice. Deborah Borelli is suing her ex-boyfriend, Osmond Brown, for harassment, personal property, and her dog, Luca.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
Hello, Kevin.
Case number 3086, Barrio versus Brown.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Borelli, you and Mr. Brown, according to you, had a friend's relationship for about 10 years.
Well, we were friends for the past about 5. We were in an actual relationship for 5 years.
Which 5 years?
The first 5, from 13 to 18.
And you lived together, and according to you, in 2018, something happened, that relationship changed. However, according to Mr. Brown, he continued to reside with you.
Yes, he lived on the couch.
Well, whatever. He continued to reside. You continued to reside together.
We stayed very good friends, yes.
Very good friends. You stayed together for 10 years.
Yes.
And then an incident occurred, you separated, and now each of you have a claim that the other has property that belongs to them. That's long and short of this case. One of the items, Mr. Brown, I see that absolutely adorable dog. Will the dog be just as happy on the ground?
I don't know. I will try.
Okay. One of the things at issue is that adorable little dog. So it is your claim that the dog belongs to you, that when you and Mr. Brown separated, it was an acrimonious separation, and that you were forced to sign a document that gave him the dog, he took the dog, and you want the dog back. You also want back from him something called an oculus. Sarah, could you pull up what that looks like for me?
This is what it looks like.
Okay. An oculus is something that you put over your eyes, and it takes you into another world. Is that what happens?
It belongs to my grandson,
Virtual
yes.
reality.
It's just
Hold on, what?
Virtual reality, they call it.
Do you use it?
No.
Do young people, kids use it? Is that what it's used for,
They're
Sarah?
popular. Pretty popular.
Popular?
Yeah.
Your other grandparents use it?
I don't think they'd be able to figure it out.
No. I know these grandparents don't use it. Do you have an Oculus?
My son has an Oculus.
And how old is he?
12.
12. Kevin, do you have an Oculus?
No, ma'am.
No. Out in the audience there, raise your hands if you own an Oculus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that some people who are adults, not old adults, but adults, do have these toys. You don't use it.
No, ma'am.
Okay. And it is your claim that in addition to the dog, Mr. Brown took the Oculus that belonged to your grandson.
Right.
Mr. Brown said he was given the Oculus because your grandson broke his tablet. And you want a little money for some traveling that she did that she promised to pay you back for. Is that right?
We
Is that right?
Yes.
You want some money for traveling? Yes. Okay. So let's deal with the dog first, since that to me is the most important issue. By the way, Miss Burrell, where's your grandson?
Back in Buffalo.
Who is this?
His mother and my daughter.
She doesn't live with you.
No.
But the grandson lives with you.
He did. He stayed.
He did?
He stayed
when
with
you were
me.
together?
He goes back and forth.
And how old is he?
16.
Okay. Because one of the things Mr. Brown says is that the 16-year-old isn't very good with the dog.
Well, the dog, he is a chewer. He's chewed up a lot of my grandson's things.
Luca has chewed up your grandson's things.
Several of his headphones and earbuds, and he's chewed up our shoelaces. And so he tries to discipline the dog, and I don't really discipline dogs.
So you wouldn't necessarily, as a dog owner, discipline your dog the same way as your grandson has disciplined the dog. Did he ever hit him?
I don't think he's hit him hard. I mean, I think he may have tapped him on the butt a couple times, maybe done his nose a couple times. I don't know. He was very frustrated that he was constantly chewing his stuff.
Okay. How old is this dog?
He will be 2 in April.
When you got him, you and Mr. Brown were living together.
Yes.
I must tell you, Miss Burrell, the dog looks very happy with Mr. Brown.
He was very happy with me, too.
May have been. I'm sure he wasn't happy when your grandson was disciplining him different from the way most normal people and adults would discipline a dog. Because Mr. Brown is certainly going to tell me about other instances of discipline that he observed that your grandson inflicted on the dog.
I'm not aware of any
Okay, but you were aware enough, Miss Burrell, to tell me that in your home, the dog was disciplined in a way that you would never discipline a puppy, because a dog that's not quite 2 is still a young dog. Some chew things and some don't. All right.
Deborah Borelli claims her ex-boyfriend, Osmond Brown, owes for harassment, an Oculus headset, and the return of her dog, Luca. Osmond is countersuing Deborah for personal property and travel expenses.
Now, when was the dog purchased?
I got him on December 19th, 2022, as a birthday present for my other Pomsky. She's just like him and loves to play. And I have an old Shih Tzu that would not play with her. And then I came across a Facebook post about a woman who was getting rid of a dog that was swimming in her basement. Well, he lived in the basement. And when I contacted her, she said, I'll send you some pictures. And it was a couple pictures of Luca sitting on some stairs. And she said, oh, we went down in the basement the other day and the basement was flooded and he was swimming. I said, swimming? And she said, yeah, so we put him on the stairs. And I said, I'll be over.
So you took the
Osmond
dog.
and I went to look at him and he made my other Pomsky a little nervous. So we went back and Oz kept saying, you don't need another dog. She doesn't need a friend. She's got toys. You know, I said, I have to do something about this dog. The woman
And
was
Mr. Brown was with you?
Yeah.
Okay. So you went together?
To look. And he said no. So I came home and I thought about it and I kept in touch with that woman and she said, if you don't take him, he's probably just gonna go to a shelter. I talked to Oz again. I said, I have to go get this dog. I have to. He's living on stairs.
Okay.
And so I purchased him. He was not happy about it, but I purchased him.
For how much?
$240. It started at $500. I told her I couldn't do it, so.
Okay. Mr. Brown, do you need a tissue?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Brown, first, do you recall, sir, going with Miss Borelli to pick up the dog?
Yes.
Were you with Miss Borelli when she purchased the dog?
Yeah, I bought the dog. I gave her the money to purchase the dog.
And where did you get the money from?
I worked.
Okay.
At that time.
Does Miss Borelli work?
She worked periodically. I got her 2 jobs for a company that I worked with. They were contractual for 90 days. She did that twice. And then she worked for the census.
Okay.
Every 10 years.
He would like to go and say hello to her.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
Sweetheart. Okay. So when you went to pick up the dog, do you remember what month and year that was? Was that in December of 2022?
Yes, it was December of 2022.
And where did you take the money from?
My bank account at work.
Miss Borelli, who took out the money to pay for the dog?
He lent me the money.
Okay, so the answer is Mr. Brown paid for the dog then?
At that day, yeah.
Okay, fine. And when did you repay him for the money?
The following week.
Do you have any proof that you paid him back?
No, but he knows I did.
I didn't ask you what he knows. I asked you whether or not...
We didn't do receipts back then.
Okay, enough. You want to hold on to the dog for a second? Thank you. When you lived in the house for these 10 years, how much was the rent in the house?
There wasn't really rent. I pay a mortgage with my retirement from the post office.
Okay. And how much did Mr. Brown contribute towards that?
He had the gas and electric in his name.
Okay, so the gas...
And it varied.
Just a second. The utilities were in his name?
Yes. I paid the cable, the phone bill for 8 years, the mortgage.
Okay, there is a mortgage. And did he contribute anything towards the mortgage?
Not towards the mortgage, really.
But did he take money out of his bank or write you a check for anything other than the 2 utilities that you've said are in his name that he pays?
Yes, he gave me different amounts. At one time it was 3, 4.
So the answer is you actually lived in, as he put it, a domestic partnership for those 10 years.
It really was.
Okay, so let's be fair and easy about it. Now, Mr. Brown, what, if anything, did you observe with regard to Miss Borelli's grandson doing with the dog? By the way, the dog still chewing up your house?
I'm gonna answer both questions, but first I'm gonna answer the chewing of things first. The dog did have a problem chewing things because he had anxieties. His anxieties were surrounded by her grandson because the fact that he would beat him. I'd sleep on the couch, like she said, for the last 5 years, I've been sleeping on the couch. When her grandson comes, he also sleeps on the couch. But sometimes in the middle of the night, like he's always on his computer doing something. So if he gets angry or something, he takes his frustrations out on the dog. The fact that I'm in the room and I'm sleeping and I let her know these things, she don't really discipline him. She just says, oh, this or oh, that.
He
sprayed hairspray in the dog's eyes one day and told her that he thought that it was his butt. That's what he told her. He thought he was spraying his butt. Why are you spraying his butt? You don't know his face from his butt, that you gonna spray him in the eyes?
What precipitated that?
I don't know. He's always trying to do things to the dog.
Did you see it?
I heard the spray and I heard the pss, pss, and I heard the dog doing this here with his eyes, so I know something happened.
Just a second.
You smell it, you can see it.
Just a second. Did you confront her grandson about it?
Yes.
What did you say to him?
I said, don't spray this dog in the eyes. I even went and told her he's spraying the dog in the face with eyes. He said he thought it was the dog's butt.
Did you hear him say that?
Yeah, he told her that.
Okay. Yeah, you don't make that up, madam.
He wouldn't have heard the spray. He's in a complete...
What I'm telling you is he wouldn't have made up that story. Miss Borelli, there are lots of stories that you make up. He's not that imaginative. There are a lot of ways that you can say you can abuse a dog, but spraying the dog in the eyes with spray, and then that remark that a 16-year-old wise guy might say, you don't make that up.
I told him a good way to discipline an animal, including a cat that's doing something bad, is you get a spray bottle and you fill it with water.
Yes. Just look at me. Don't look at him. You get a spray bottle and fill it with water, and?
And you can put it on a light mist and you spray them.
But this is not what he did. He didn't spray the dog with water.
I believe that's what he did.
No, that's not what he said. He didn't say spray the dog with water. But now we're getting to the fact that he did, in fact, spray the dog.
With water.
Okay. The dog is staying with him. Period. End of discussion. He paid for it, $240, and unless you have proof that you took out $240 that was paid for the dog...
He loves this dog
just a
so
second.
much. Why is he trying to sell it back to me for $3,000
just a second.
I sold the
house? Let me tell you something.
Deborah Borelli is accusing her ex-boyfriend, Osmond Brown, of harassment and wrongfully keeping her dog, Luca. Osmond is countersuing for personal property and travel expenses.
By the way, can I see the piece of paper that she signed giving you the dog?
Yes.
The top half was ripped off. There was more writing on the top half of that.
I will let Osmond Brown take my dog, Luca, in order to get Desmond to leave my home forever.
The top half says something completely different than ripped off.
I'd like to take a look at what you're showing me. This isn't this.
No, I don't have that.
Well, this isn't it.
That
what
shows you that
just
he's trying to sell me the dog back.
If you want to buy it back, you can buy it back.
For $240?
Listen to me. He's got the dog. I will let him take the dog if he agrees to leave. That's what this document says.
Just for the day.
Just a second. That's not what this document says.
Because he's ripped it.
Just a second. You should have made a copy. It's ripped on both sides. Okay. Now, he wants the dog. He paid for the dog. As long as your 16-year-old grandson has access to your house, which you say that he does, the dog is staying with Mr. Brown. If it's his conscience as to whether or not he wants to sell it or not. Right now, the dog looks just fine. And I'm not sending this dog back to where there's a 16-year-old teenager who gets frustrated and takes out that frustration on a dog by over-disciplining the dog.
I don't think he over-disciplined.
This is not a tea party, madam. This is a ruling. This is when you have to listen.
Okay.
Kevin, get the dog and bring it to Mr. Brown.
Come on, come on, come on, come on. There you go, good boy.
Okay, now let's go to the Oculus. Mr. Brown, you have the Oculus.
Yes, ma'am.
And you don't use it. That's what you told me before.
I don't use it. I have...
Just a second. You don't use it?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so you're going to give it back to the grandson because she doesn't use it. It was the grandson's Oculus. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Now we have a counterclaim. And your counterclaim is that when you had this argument you left the house and you left some things there.
Yes, ma'am.
The most important thing in this collection, because I'm not getting involved in a collection of 3 sport jerseys or 2 T-shirts, I'm not getting involved with that, but you say you left your watch there. Where did you leave your watch?
It's in her bedroom. I have 3 watches there. One has a pink face, one has a blue face, and one is a Rolex that she gave me that the battery broke.
Okay. You don't mention any other watch but a Rolex.
Yes, ma'am.
And the Rolex was given to you by the plaintiff?
Yes, ma'am.
For what?
We were in a relationship.
Was it a birthday or a different event that you gave him the Rolex?
I didn't give him a watch.
Oh, can I see the watches, please? Whose watches were they?
I had bought them for an ex in New York City. We had gone to the Statue of Liberty and we were at Battery Park, and a man opened his raincoat and asked me, did I want watches?
Oh, and these
I
are
bought
the 2,
many of
just
them.
a second, and these are the 2 watches that you bought?
Yeah, lots of them.
But these are the 2
$30
men's,
a piece.
But these are the 2 men's watches that you bought?
Yes.
Okay.
So he...
Shh. Would you turn these men's watches over to the defendant, please?
Thank you.
No, they're not his. I never gave them to him.
Just a second. I'm giving them to him.
No, you can't. There's 2 of them there. I wanted him. He doesn't even know which one it was, and they're counterfeit.
Oh, just a second. I understand that, counterfeit, madam. You just explained that to me. When somebody comes over to you in Washington Square Park and goes like this, want a real Rolex? I would suggest to you that you know.
I knew they were counterfeit, and I bought them for an ex, and we were going through some jewelry, and he saw it, and he said, these are nice Rolex. They're not both his.
He's getting them both.
Oh
Both fake Rolexes. He's getting both fake Rolexes for which you paid $30. Okay. Now, what other expenses do you think she's responsible for?
So we planned a trip to Atlanta with me and her grandson and my mom.
When?
So we were supposed to go on October 28th. It was a non-refundable trip. So once I paid for it. Once I paid for it, she's supposed to pay her $850. She never paid her $850 because when she got her money, she threw me out the house and said she's not going on the trip. So that's when I told her I need that $850 back.
Just a second. You paid the $850 for what?
To fly to Atlanta.
Oh, to fly?
To fly, yes.
To fly?
Yes.
Okay. And that was just on a vacation trip?
Yes.
Okay. Did you go?
Yes.
Who else did you go with?
My mother.
And you flew there?
Yes.
And you knew she wasn't going, so what did you do with her tickets?
I couldn't do anything with her tickets. I left everything there. I told her on the phone she could still go. It's still there for you. You can still go. She said, I don't want to be in the same hotel with you or something like that.
She's not going.
So,
okay, you're taking the dog home. I expect the Oculus to be packed and take it to a post office, box it, and send it back to her grandson. Now, you want it to go to your house? The Oculus, do you want to your house?
But how will I know that he's not going to break it?
You know, because I'm telling him not to break it, to put it in a box and send it back. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, don't break it.
I won't.
He won't. Okay, we're done here. He gets the dog, you get your Oculus. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
It's the dog that's worth money, and that's why he wants it, because he's greedy and ruthless.
The only way I felt like I could help this dog is if I got her to sign him over to me so I could leave.
He's going to turn around and sell the dog. So I'll give you a beautiful Pomsky for sale.
No, this dog is part of our family. This dog is loved by 2 families now. He has a bunch of kids that love him and play with him, and either at my brother's house or at my house.
Because I rescued that dog. He did not want me to rescue that dog. That dog had a terrible life until I went and rescued him.
It's almost impossible to separate these domestic partnerships and property and what you spend. You know, you have courts set up for divorces, but you don't for living together as almost marrieds. But the papers indicated that he took the dog, and there's no question. He didn't say he's taking the dog for one day because she wanted him to leave. And she said the condition was she would give him the dog if he left the house forever. That was in the paper. And her statement that I was just giving him the dog for one day just doesn't fit with that. And he paid for the dog. The dog looks very well taken care of. And she acknowledged that the grandson did, in fact, abuse the dog. So it was a very easy decision. And the Oculus was made easy, actually, by him. When I said, do you use the Oculus? He said, no.
Give it back to its owner.
Give it back to its owner. Anyway, living together is never easy when you have to dissect it and divide it at the end of the day.
Brian Parkinson is suing his neighbor, Shelley Burke, for a false claim leading to his arrest.
Court come to order. All rise.
Be seated, please.
Hello, Judge.
Why are you, Kevin?
Case 2201, Parkinson versus Burke.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Parkinson, you are suing the defendant, alleging that she caused you to be falsely arrested.
That is correct.
The defendant has a counterclaim. Her counterclaim is based upon the same incident for which you were arrested. She's claiming that you placed both herself and her passenger in her car in fear because you displayed erratic behavior and threatened them with a gun. And I gather that you two live in a gated community. Is that correct?
Yes,
where is that?
Arkansas.
How long have you lived there?
8 years.
And you?
26 years.
This incident occurred on what date, sir?
June 7th.
Of last year?
Yes.
You were driving what kind of car, Mr. Parkinson?
A gray Toyota Tundra.
Sir, I think I know what that looks like. Could you bring that up for me so that I can see a Toyota Tundra?
Yes.
That doesn't sound like a little car. That sounds like a big car.
It's a truck.
Big. And what kind of car were you driving?
A Toyota Camry.
That I know what it looks like. It's a regular size, smallish car. This incident happened, according to the complaint, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's correct.
I'm going to start with you, Mr. Parkinson, since it's your claim for false arrest.
Yes.
So I want you to tell me your version of what happened on June 7th, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I assume you were on your way home.
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Go ahead.
Miss Burke pulled out of the station in front of my vehicle, directly in front of me, causing me to hit my brakes extremely hard.
Okay. Either because she wasn't paying attention, right?
Could be.
Could be. Well, you wouldn't think. Just let me stop. When was the last time you were psychiatrically hospitalized?
Never.
Are you currently taking any psychotropic medication?
No, ma'am.
Were you intoxicated on the 7th of June?
No, ma'am.
4 o'clock in the afternoon?
No, ma'am.
So, Mr. Parkinson, let me go back a little bit. This is a non-psychotic, not drunk person. So if you're a thinking person, you know that if she pulled out, either she wasn't paying attention because she's not driving the Tundra, you are. You're driving a this, she's driving a this. So she wouldn't place herself and her son in harm's way purposely to pull out in front of your Tundra.
I would hope not.
Well, I would say absolutely not. I don't have to even guess about that. She did not put herself purposely in harm's way. And so she pulled out in front of you. You had to put on your brakes hard.
For her safety.
You weren't thinking about her safety. You're not thinking about anybody's safety. It's a reaction. If somebody pulls out unexpectedly, you put your brakes on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's not going through your mind for her safety. It's put your brakes on. I mean, because if you were thinking about her safety, then we wouldn't be here today. So after you put on your brakes to stop, did anything happen?
Some objects in the back of my truck dislodged, some stuff in the back of the seat moved.
And these things that got dislodged, did they get dislodged from the back cab in the truck or from the interior of the truck?
Both in the bed and the interior.
Okay, what got dislodged in the interior?
Some paperwork, some clothing.
Okay, so it fell on the floor?
Yes.
Okay, and in the back part of the truck?
Bed of the truck, some tools shifted also.
Didn't fall out of the truck. They just moved from one place to another.
That is correct.
What did you do next?
I proceeded to follow Miss Burke into the village because I live in the village.
When you say you followed her in, describe what you mean you followed her in.
She was in front of me, and I followed her into the village.
Don't play with me, sir. I read your complaint. You were tailing her.
Yes.
Yes. Well, let's say I was tailing her closely because you were annoyed.
Yes.
There we go. So you understand at this point, sir, that what you were involved in is road rage. You, not her. She was an accident. She was negligent. She wasn't paying attention. Let's say all of those things, not on purpose, because that would be stupid, and she has not recently been psychiatrically hospitalized. You, on the other hand, made a purposeful decision to tail her because you were annoyed that your tools moved. That's what happened. Would that be a fair statement, Mr. Parkinson?
Yes, I was annoyed.
Okay, you were annoyed, and what followed was an incident of road rage. Your husband, you've been in the car with him when he's had a little bit of road rage? Think about it before you answer me. Have you been in the car with him when he has reacted in a different way from the way you would have reacted to another car?
He has, very minimal.
The answer is either yes or no. Have you been with him in the car when he has reacted in a way that you would not have reacted in a traffic situation?
Yes, ma'am.
Parkinson claims his neighbor, Shelley Burke, owes for the cost of being falsely arrested. Shelley is countersuing Brian for emotional distress, saying he threatened her with a gun.
And when he's reacted that way, did you ever say anything to him?
It was minimal. I didn't respond to it.
Really? Okay, good. When my husband gets involved in one of those road rage things because somebody cuts him off, I'm all over him like white on rice. Are you crazy, putting me in jeopardy because you got a bad temper? That's what I say to my husband. She can attest to that. Me, I once said it to a police officer who pulled him over. Give him a ticket. Give him 2 tickets. Maybe he'll stop. Right?
True.
So now you're involved in a road rage hissy fit and you're tailgating her. How many blocks did you tail her? Or how many miles did you tail her? Don't look as if you don't understand my question.
No.
Okay, good.
3/4 of a mile, if that.
Okay, well, that's a pretty long way, 3/4 of a mile. So you were tailing her for 3/4 of a mile. And at some point, did she make a turn with her car to avoid you tailing her?
Yes.
A 90-degree turn?
Yes.
So tell me, now you're following her for 3/4 of a mile, and she makes this turn.
Yes.
Now, when she made that sharp turn, did you follow her?
Nope.
No.
No.
No. I know you didn't follow her because she made that turn to get away from you. Do you understand? I've been on this earth a very long time. You, Mr. Parkinson, are an ordinary guy with a bad temper. So I've played this scene in my head, both from personal experience and from watching other jerks like you, in my head 100 times. So when she made this turn, she made the turn to get away from you, and you said, well, I accomplished my mission. I jarred her a little bit. That's if I believe your story, all of it. And you went home. Now, I'm to the point where she makes the turn and you went home. So far, correct?
That is correct.
Does that look familiar to you, Mr. Parkinson?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so I would like you to walk over there, show me where the gas station is, and show me where you started to follow her.
I'll be more than happy to. Of course, it says Shell right here. That's where the incident began.
Right.
She pulled out immediately in front of me, causing me to hit my brakes.
Just a second. So she caused you to hit your brakes?
Yes.
That
And
I know.
then she turned right. I followed her into the village. Everybody gets close.
No. Just show me. I followed her into the village and
Right
show me
here.
where you proceeded.
Then we drove down, and she turned, I believe, here or here.
Turned how?
To the right.
Okay. And you proceeded to your house?
Yes.
Okay. Now you can step back. So she turned off to get away from the maniac who was tailgating her because she had made a mistake in pulling out in front of him at a gas station. You go home, and what do you do when you get home?
I backed my truck in.
And then what did you do?
I got out of my truck to move the tools and stuff that had shifted to the front of the bed, to the back of the bed, where I can get to them better for work, because I had to slam on the brakes twice.
Mr. Parkinson, do you know what doesn't make sense to me? Your husband isn't a stupid man, is he?
No, ma'am.
No. Now, I don't drive a truck, but I know when I go to the store and buy 2 gallons of chicken soup with matzo balls, and I go to put them in the car, I say to myself, Judy, it's possible that you're going to have to stop short, that a light's going to turn red. So I put the chicken soup in between the front seat and the back seat of the car, and I move the seat so it's stable, so that if my car stops a little short, because even if it stops a little short, my chicken soup would be on the floor of the car. So I make sure that it doesn't move. It just doesn't make sense to me why you wouldn't secure this toolbox any better. If you stop short, those tools are naturally going to move, right? The weight of the tools is actually going to move. Okay, so I just am putting this whole thing in my head. Do you need a permit to buy a gun in Arkansas?
You do not have to have a permit to carry in Arkansas. It is an
But you
open
have to make
carry
an
state.
application.
You have to apply to buy a handgun or long rifle.
Have you ever done that?
Yes, I have, multiple times.
Just a second. So the answer is yes.
Yes.
What have you applied to buy?
Numerous guns.
Which you still have.
Yes.
I assume that you keep those guns within the proximity of your home.
They are all kept in the house, Your Honor.
The next thing, according to you, the police show up at your door.
That is correct.
And they have a conversation with you about a report.
Yes, they
that
did.
someone has, in your area, has complained that there were shots fired by you out of your truck during this road rage incident.
That's what the statement says.
That's what the statement says. And I assume that the police searched the truck.
The police searched me.
Did they search the truck?
I gave the police the authority to search my truck willingly.
They searched the truck.
I
Is
told
the
them
answer.
they could.
Mr. Parkinson, I know that you think that I'm stupid. I know that you must think that I'm stupid. Did you give the police permission to search your house? The answer is yes or no.
No.
Of course not. Because in your house, they would have found multiple guns.
Correct.
In your house, just that's a yes or a no. In your house, they would have found multiple guns.
Yes.
You keep multiple guns in your house, but don't carry one around for protection in your truck. When did they arrest you?
I was arrested on August 2nd.
Okay. And?
I was told to call the village police department. I promptly called them, and they told me I had a warrant for my arrest.
And?
I was very shocked.
And?
And I was charged with felony assault, and I had to pay $1,080 to bond and fees to get out of jail.
And?
I was released from jail. And then on the 17th, is that correct?
19th.
The 19th of August, I had a court date.
And?
It was nolle prost, due to the request of the village police department for lack of evidence.
Okay. And?
So I'm out that amount of money for bond for a false arrest because a false statement and half a day.
Okay, we're going to find out if it's a false statement. So far, I'm not thinking it's a false statement. I have to let that sink into you, Mr. Parkinson. So far, I'm not thinking it's a false statement. I'm going to hear the defendant. I know one thing for certain. You were involved in a road rage incident and you were the perpetrator. Whether or not you flashed a gun, she's going to tell me. We certainly know that you have guns, according to you, multiple guns, in your house. I suppose you have a couple for you and a couple for your wife. Who else lives in your house with you?
Just two of us.
Just the two of you. How many guns does he have in the house?
Is accusing his neighbor, Shelley Burke, of lying to the police and getting him falsely arrested. Shelley claims Brian was shooting his gun while following her home.
How many guns does he have in the house?
We have 2 long guns that he used for hunting, and we each have a handgun.
And you each have a handgun?
Yes.
Good.
They are in travel cases that are locked.
You want to know something? I don't believe that.
But we have grandchildren that come over.
When there are grandchildren, you may lock them. Okay, now we're going to you, Miss Burke. Did you see him when you cut him off?
I did not.
Let's start out with the fact that you were exiting the gas station. Mm-hmm. You didn't see him. You weren't paying attention. You didn't look that way. Whatever it was, you cut him off. So let's start from there.
You got it. This gray truck comes up behind me, swerving and revving his motor and all that. Got as close as he possibly could.
Why don't you show me
I
over
will
there?
do that. Okay. There's 2 lanes going into the village. There's a left and a right lane. I go left, he goes right. Well, I get in front of him, and then he starts getting behind me, swerving his car back and forth, revving his motor. He is so close. He's probably closest to me and him. I mean, he's not a car length away. He's right up on my bumper. And revving his truck, and I'm going the speed limit. Then I turn, make a left. He's still right on me, never lets up. It's kind of a tricky area because it's curvy. So when I go around this one S-curve, I hear a pop. And I'm like, oh my God, he just shot at us. I said, call 911. When I start coming back down again, I look in my passenger mirror. I saw the spark. I saw it. I'll never forget it. And he heard it. We heard, even on the phone call, I think you can possibly hear it. He popped the gun again. And then he's on 911 talking to her, and the lady's saying, be calm, be calm. And I'm leaning down in the car. He's trying to tell me to go. He looks like he's going on past us. But when he does that, he rolls down the window, and you could see him holding a gun in his hand. And he says something I can't understand what he's saying. He's getting the license plate numbers. We thought he kept on going.
So your son got the license number?
Yeah, he got the license plate number. He's on the phone with 911 at this time.
And that's what was given to the police?
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, I got the 911 call here with us today.
I would like to hear it. Step back. Can I hear the 911 call, please?
Go, 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 go!
911, what is your emergency?
Somebody was shooting at us.
What?
He's a gray Toyota truck. He was shooting at us. His license plate number is...
I need all units. We got a vehicle that is, the complainant's on 911 saying the vehicle is shooting at them. I'm fixing to run the tag. Who am I speaking with?
This is Leslie Scott Rogers.
And you said what kind of vehicle was it?
It's a gray Toyota Tundra. Go.
It's coming back on a gray Toyota Tundra, and that's what the complainant says. It's a 2014 Toyota Tundra.
Okay, start that 911 call all over again. Pay careful attention, because I thought at the beginning of this tape, I too heard a shot. Could we start again, please? Take your hand out of your pocket.
Go, 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 go!
911, what is your emergency?
Somebody was shooting at us.
There it is. There it is. Got it. You can stop it.
That doesn't sound like a gunshot.
Mm-hmm. Your case is dismissed, Mr. Parkinson. Your case is dismissed. I have a counterclaim, so stand where you are. The counterclaim is by Miss Burke for the emotional trauma that she, let's just talk about her, went through as a result of your road rage and shooting your gun at her, which you did. You probably didn't shoot it to hit her or to hit the car, because I don't think you're that stupid. Stupid, yes, but I don't think that's stupid. I think you did it to frighten her, just to frighten her. Then I think that you brought the gun that you keep in your truck when you work, maybe on your person, which you probably have a perfectly legal right to do, and you took the gun, you said, just in case something happens, because I did, in fact, shoot my gun in her direction, because I heard it on the 911 call. I better put it in the house. I better put it in the house. So you took the gun and you brought it into the house, and then saying, oh, police are here. Oh, well, search my truck. You won't find a gun. Search me. You won't find a gun on me. Don't search my house. And I guarantee you that you didn't say to the policemen when they came, I do have a gun, but it's locked in my house. Show me something where you told the police that you had a gun, but it was in the house. Nothing, because it didn't happen. Based upon that 911 call, the fact that you were involved in a road rage incident with her, tailing her at least 3/4 of a mile, right on her tail, causing that 911 call, as far as I'm concerned, that's trauma. My heart would have been racing triple time, because I don't know whether behind me is a lunatic or just a stupid guy who can't control his temper, and his wife hasn't been able to beat it out of him for the last how many years you're married. Because there's no question he's done that sort of thing before. Maybe not with a gun. Maybe not with a gun. When was the last time, sir, prior to this time, that you were arrested? When was the last time prior to this time that you were arrested? Year.
19.
Then 19, your age, or 2019?
2019.
2019. For what? Now, don't think, I know that if I were arrested once, a couple of years ago, I would have remembered what it was.
Well, I was arrested for supposed harassment, violation of no contact order. What else?
No, don't look at her.
It's been so many times, I can't remember.
So you've been arrested multiple times?
Yes.
Okay, good. Nice. You picked him.
I don't see how this pertains.
How does it pertain?
I do
for your propensity for violence, sir.
This has nothing to do with violence.
No, it does have to do with her counterclaim. $5,000 is what your counterclaim is for. Is that correct? Judgment on the counterclaim for $5,000. Your claim's dismissed. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
It was a very bad day.
We do not carry weapons in our vehicles.
I won't even go out at night anymore because I'm scared he's coming by my house.
She described in the report a black weapon. We don't have a black handgun.
The truth is, I saw the guns.
Well, I think she created a situation by admitting she didn't see me.
I don't understand why he would even say that.
People want to drive stupid, let them, and just back off.
The plaintiff was certainly not forthcoming. I let him search my truck. Mm-hmm. I let him search me. What about your house? Did you tell them I do have a gun, but it wasn't out, it wasn't me, because I leave my guns at, my 2 long guns and my 2 short guns at home? Yeah. You could hear the pop in the first part of that when he was hysterical. Mm-hmm. And believe me, he wasn't hysterical.
Just because someone's tailing you.
Just because someone's tailing you. You don't call 911. You pull into your house and you lock the door fast. Yeah. You only do that if someone's pointing a gun. And so there's no question There's no question that he did that. How dare you put someone in fear purposely?
You're just doing it to create a fear in someone. And to do that, especially to a woman driving in front of you in a small Camry, it says more about him than it does anything else, I think.
At that moment, I'd put him in jail for 5 days and say, yeah, next time, don't do it.
Previously on Judy Justice.
She wasn't trespassing in your house, madam. She wasn't burglarizing your house. She was bitten by your pit bull. That's what the case is about.
She was told not to go into my house.
If I believe you. Now I'm going to look at your video.
She even said it was her fault.
It wasn't her fault. It was your fault. You had the dangerous animal.
How is it my fault? I told her not to go in my house.
Don't ask me any questions, madam.
And now, the conclusion. Mila Bazin is suing her former employer, Sarah Adams, for lost wages and pain and suffering after being bit by Sarah's pit bull.
Okay, my issue actually is, in addition to everything else, why would a seemingly smart woman have a dog that she would have to warn people about to come to her front door? Why? I say to myself, why? I don't understand that. And when I was preparing for this case today, looking at the complaint and looking at the answer, I could do a little multitasking. I was reading the newspaper. This is today. A 7-year-old Louisiana girl was mauled to death by a neighbor's pit bull after it ran into her family yard. The name of the person is here. A child was playing outside her East Baton Rouge Parish home Friday when the dog barreled onto the property and viciously attacked her. Family member tried to stop the dog by hitting it with a walking cane, but the animal couldn't be deterred. First grader suffered multiple bites to her face and severe skull damage. She died. The dog was euthanized. The dog's owner told the officers he wasn't home during the attack and regularly lets the dog roam the neighborhood. He was charged Saturday with homicide.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. I would go right from charge to execution.
Your Honor, I also have proof that another lady down the street was bitten by...
I'm going to get to you. I'm not finished. Okay. I'm not finished. I don't understand. I have others. Because it looks like you look like dog-sitting mom killed by pit bulls. North Carolina woman was mauled to death by 2 pit bulls she was dog-sitting for after the mother warned her to stop watching the animals, according to reports. That's all. Husband came home, found her in the backyard being eaten by 2 pit bulls that she was watching for her son. I don't understand. I have more, but I won't bore you with more. So I don't understand why intelligent people have a dog that they know is capable of killing somebody, of just turning and killing somebody. I don't understand it. I think, insurance companies can legally discriminate against people who have pit bulls by saying, we're not going to insure you. And there's a reason for that.
But, Your Honor, I told her before she left not to go in my house. My dog was not outside. My dog was in my home, protecting my family.
I want you to look at the video again. And unless your daughter is a moron and can't follow your instructions, she did not say to her, wait outside.
I understand that.
Just a second. She saw her. She was in charge of your home that day. She permitted her to come in and put the drink down. She did that. You want to watch the video again, or do you acknowledge it?
I don't need to watch the video.
So you acknowledge it. So I don't care what you said to her. When she got there, the circumstances were such that your daughter, who is taller than you are, was very happy to have her come in instead of saying, you're not allowed to come into my house because we have this vicious dog.
She's not vicious.
Oh, yes, a dog that bites somebody that's coming in
She was protecting my children in my home.
Just a second. I understand what you're saying, and I'm saying to you that she came in with your daughter within inches from her. And your daughter, when she opened the door, didn't you see the dog?
No, I didn't realize.
What? You didn't realize?
No, it happened so fast. When I entered the door, I then realized, so I came back to rush to stop Mila, but she already got bit. It was too late. So it is my fault.
Right! It's not your fault. I love that. It's too bad that you can't teach that to your mother. It's really too bad you can't teach your mother to say, it's my fault. I have a dog that can be vicious. And so far, the dog has not been vicious to my children. I hope for your sake and your brother's sake that one day the dog doesn't get annoyed with one of your brothers. I just hope. I mean, this lady was about your size, the one that was killed by the 2 pit bulls. An older lady. So I'm hoping your mother chooses to have that instead of double locks taking care of her children. Great. But then she has to pay the consequences.
Basin claims her former employer, Sarah Adams, owes for injuries after being bit by Sarah's dog. Sarah says Maya accepted a $300 settlement from the incident.
Now, may I see the note that you had from a previous neighbor?
Yeah, so this is a text message from Sarah to me stating that the neighbor down the street...
No, I can read.
Okay.
Nobody can state to you. Okay. What was the name of the other woman that got bit by your dog?
Your Honor, it was my neighbor, and
just a second. I asked you for a name. Did she get bitten anywhere around this time?
No.
What year?
It was 2020, and it was a dog fight that me and her were both trying to break up.
Just a second. It was 2020.
2021, excuse me.
Okay.
She is my neighbor.
Just a second. So a year before, when in 2021? Give me a month.
I don't remember.
Summer, fall, winter,
fall.
spring?
It was fall.
So you're talking about September or October?
Somewhere around there, yes.
Was she treated for the dog bite?
No, Your Honor, it was not severe.
The answer is no. She was not treated for her dog bite. Not seen by anybody.
Correct.
Okay, can I see photographs of the dog bite, please?
And I also have the first initial appearance that I went to the hospital.
Now you can step back up. I have another question for you. Now you were there. I heard you say from inside, oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, at least twice. Now, after this happened, what did the plaintiff do?
Call me.
No. After this happened, just you and your 2 younger brothers were home. What did the plaintiff do? She was sitting outside on the porch.
We came and gave her some towels.
Who's we?
My brother.
So you got some towels. I saw she asked you for some towels.
Mm-hmm. And then we tried to give her some Band-Aids.
Put the paper down. You're annoying me.
She said, just let me come in. So I put away the dog.
She said what?
Just let me come in. So I put away the dog, and I put her, she was in my mom's bathroom, and we were finding Band-Aids and rinsing it off.
And then I didn't ask you a question. Now she's in your mother's bathroom. She's trying to clean it up, and you put the dogs where?
We have kennels for them, cages.
And kennels?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have kennels for them that you put them in at what time of day? Or when anybody is coming over? When do you use the kennels?
We use them when we leave, or about to leave, or if somebody's coming over that they haven't met.
Okay. Now, you knew that the plaintiff was coming over. Your mother had told you the plaintiff was coming over.
Yes.
Okay. And did your mother tell you in that phone conversation, would ordinarily ask, because I know I live with people your age and a little bit older, when is McDonald's going to be here? When is it going to be here? Did you ask your mother that question?
No.
Did she give you any indication about how long it would take?
No.
How did you know when plaintiff arrived?
The car pulled up.
So you were looking outside for the car?
Yes.
Great. And when were you looking outside for the car? You knew the food had arrived?
Yeah.
You went outside?
Yes, I closed the door right behind me.
Of course. You closed the door behind you. You went and got the food. There was extra food. She was clearly following you, and you clearly saw that she was following you into the house.
No.
Well, by the time you got to the front door, you want to see it again? You turned around, you saw that she was there, behind you.
That's when I went in the house. That's
No. Right before. Right before. Play it again, Sam. She's now out of the car. You're calling your brothers. Turn around, you look at her and smile, say nothing. She walks in, so you say nothing to her. Got it? Don't come in here. Don't come in, just leave it outside. You're both smiling. Smiling. You want to see it again? No, you were both smiling when you walked in. Play it again, Sam.
Got it?
Okay, thank you. Got it? Got it?
Yeah.
Okay,
that's when
very
I
good.
realized.
Ms. Bazine, if, quite frankly, the only thing that's distressing to me about your complaint is that you're only suing her for $3,500. That's the only thing that is, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you could have just as easily been really seriously injured. And to me, people who will keep an aggressive dog, that's an aggressive dog, at home for whatever reason, especially a breed that has been determined to be a potentially dangerous breed of animal, deserves any consequences. This guy, this 20-year-old idiot, is going to jail. If I was sentencing him, he would go to jail for a very long time as an example. Maybe you have to set examples for people who allow innocent people to get killed because they like a particular breed of dog. I mean, I have to tell you, I'm old. I'm very old. I'm probably the oldest person that you know. I have never read one article where a Shih Tzu killed a person. That's why I have Shih Tzus. I've heard them, they nipped my finger maybe, you know, they ripped my stockings, they ate the furniture leg, but I've never read a piece. You have Chihuahuas, you have Chihuahua. Yeah. I've never heard about a Chihuahua killing a person, ever. Ever. So if you're dumb enough to have a dog, you have to accept the consequences. This guy is going to accept the consequences for his stupidity, for letting his pit bull roam around, by going to jail. And you're going to accept the consequences by paying the exact amount that she's requesting, which is $3,500. Your counterclaim is stupid, and it's dismissed.
Your Honor,
and I'm done with you.
Your Honor, we had an agreement that she signed.
Done with you.
We had an agreement that she signed.
Sarah Adams is accusing her former employee, Mila Bazin, of harassment after her dog bit Mila. Mila claims she did not agree to Sarah's $300 settlement.
We had an agreement that she signed. She signed the agreement for $300 and we were done.
Okay, I'd like to see that.
Please.
If she...
On top of that, the next day she came back into my house to meet the dog that bit her.
I don't care.
What do I care?
What do I care about that? Why would you bring
the bit? She picked at it. I have all this evidence that she picked at it, and that's what it turned into because she didn't take care of it.
I have to tell you, I don't care whether she took care of it or whether it got infected. If I got bitten by somebody's vicious dog, I don't care whether it got infected or not. That's a traumatic event.
The only reason why I was suing...
Just a second. But if you signed a release to her,
She did.
That's a different story.
No, I didn't.
She signed that paper.
Don't. Why did you sign this? This is clear. First, Woodville, Kevin.
Can I see it, please? And when is it dated on?
Well, it says this agreement settles a dog bite that happened on 7/18.
This was signed in October, November.
If you shout out again.
Because I was missing all my money. I was not getting paid. I needed something from her.
What do you mean? I don't understand what you mean you weren't getting. Here.
Is there a date on this?
And I do have other things that she signed if you need to verify the signature.
I was very high on narcotics and coming under the influence of coming out of the hospital. I do not remember signing this. And if it was for her to make me feel better because of what happened.
I'm sorry, Miss Bazin, that's not going to fly with me.
Well,
that's not going to fly with me. If you accepted the $300,
no, I didn't.
Pay careful attention to what I'm saying before you answer. If you and the defendant in any action can at any time, even without a lawyer, if neither of you have a lawyer, I'm speaking, can settle a claim if they wish to settle a claim before getting the courts involved. That can happen. And that should happen in many instances. I'm not quite sure this one, but it certainly should happen more often than not. You settled for less than you were entitled to. You settled for $300. Did she give you $300?
No, Your Honor.
May I see that document, please?
She did not.
Okay, let's see whether
Also
she did.
referring to a car battery?
No. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I agreed to give Mila $300. Did she give it to you?
No.
Show me that you gave it to her. And when?
I gave her cash. It's on camera at work. I handed her at work with my boss there. My boss, you can call him right now.
I'm not calling your
boss.
Listen to me. I'm not calling your boss. That's your problem to prove it.
I also helped her when her car broke down.
I don't
paid
care.
for a battery.
I don't care.
I paid for
Listen
lift
to me.
rides for her.
I don't
dog
care.
bit me.
Shh. I don't care. All I want to see is proof that you handed her.
I gave her cash.
$300.
I don't have proof because I gave her cash.
Well, that's a problem for you. Did she give you cash?
Your Honor, no.
No,
She
just
helped me out with a car battery, and then she accumulated.
Just a second. It doesn't say that you gave her $300.
Your Honor, she's
It
lying.
says I agreed to give her.
She's lying. I handed her $300 and made her and had her sign that at work. We did it at work. She's lying.
How she threatened
Well,
me.
then I'm going to give this to you. She says you didn't give her the $300. You have no proof that you gave her the $300. You have no proof.
I don't.
You don't have any proof. $3,500. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I feel like if it would have been a Shih Tzu that bit her and did that damage, I feel like the judge would have gone in my favor.
And I knew I would get justice coming here for pit bulls. She takes care of the community. I'm so glad that happened that way.
I had a lot of evidence, and the reason why her bite turned into what it looks like now is because she didn't take care of it. She picked at it.
I was happy to bring the kids food. I'm that type of person.
Because I have documentation of her picking at it. She went to the hospital 4 different occasions.
It's pretty traumatizing.
I know she was fine because I have text messages that prove that she was fine.
And all of a sudden, the dog just got me.
That it was her fault. She knew better than to go in the house.
Right when I walked in, the dog lynched and grabbed my leg.
I walked in, and then I realized there was a voice behind me. I went back and saw that Milo was back, and she got bit by that time, so I went to go help her.
Locked its jaw. The burnt tooth went really far down deep. Me and the baby girl both had to hit the dog to get him off of me.
I picked up the dog, and I put her in her kennel.
Very terrifying. I still have PTSD, and even watching that video was shocking.
She was constantly complaining about the dog bite to myself, my boss, slandering me every chance that she got.
Absolutely ridiculous.
And I said, Mila, look, this needs to be settled once and for all.
Bullied me and put me in a position, cornered me, and made me do what she wanted to do. She was my boss, so whatever she said, I had to do.
What do you want? She said, give me $300 and I'll sign something saying we're done. So that's what I did.
I don't know. Some people are different.
So I just wanted to point out a distinction in the articles that you brought in. I know you've been hearing these pit bull cases for decades, and so I understand your outrage every time you see one. But the distinction in the news articles that you brought in today as examples, as well as this case, there's a couple key differences. One, the main one being, in the newspaper articles, the dogs were outside the home, outside the control. And in this case, the defendant wanted to make it especially known that the dog never left her home. However, from a legal standpoint, it's a more egregious charge if you allow your dangerous animal out and about in society without any sort of warning. However, just because it's inside your home doesn't absolve you from that responsibility. The plaintiff was still an invitee into the home. Like you had said, the daughter had every opportunity from the street all the way up the sidewalk, all the way onto the porch, and even into the screen door that you can see on the video opened up. Never once said, oh, just wait outside. Even with my own dogs. Or leave the food on the porch. Even with my own dogs, golden retrievers, sometimes I never know if they're going to be overexcited. I say, just hang on 1 second out here. Let me make sure they're good. And I make sure they're happy, whatever. And then I say, come on in. So she had every opportunity to do that, and she didn't. So like you had mentioned to her, it's not like the plaintiff was a trespasser or trying to steal or trying to harm her children. And you're still responsible for your dangerous animals, even if they're inside your home.
Yeah.
So just think that's a word to the wise, that it's not just when they're outside your control that you can be held liable.
I thought it was also interesting, now that I think about it and listen to what you're saying, usually when you have a dog that you know is dangerous, because let us assume that I believed her when she said, you know, I said don't go into the house, which I don't believe her. You usually have a sign if you live in a private house and you're using the dog for protection, to have a sign, dangerous dog.
Beware of dog.
Beware of dog, because somebody may come and deliver a package, open your screen door, You never know when something can happen. So you at least give the public notice that there is potentially a vicious animal inside. You're absolutely.
Boyfriend Willie Albrecht for filing a false police report and harassment.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 2068, Automatis versus Albrecht.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Albrecht, I'm going to start with you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
You are the current live-in boyfriend of the plaintiff's ex-wife?
Soon to be.
Of the plaintiff's wife.
Correct.
Mr. Adamus's complaint is that as a result of you making a call to the police, he was defamed when you said that he was trespassing. It was a false call to the police, and he wants to be compensated to the tune of $2,500. That's what the case is about. So in order to make this whole thing in context that I understand, how long have you been living with Mrs. Adamus?
Since June of 21.
How long do you know her?
Since January of 21.
Have you ever been married?
Yes, I have.
When and for how long?
Previously to April of this year, I was married for 15 years.
So you were married when you moved in with Mrs. Adamus?
Yeah.
Legally?
Legally.
Did you own your own home?
I did.
With your then wife?
Correct.
Did she stay in the house?
She did.
Does she have a boyfriend?
Yes, she does.
Do you like him?
No, I do not.
Does he live in the house?
Not at this time.
Did he ever?
Yes, he did.
And you didn't like it?
No, I did not.
So I want you to understand that there is maybe a reason why the plaintiff resents you living in a house that he owns with his still wife, and you're living there. Do you understand?
I do.
Because you sort of have the same situation. You're kindred spirits. Just a minute. Actually, you're kindred spirits.
Except my 15-year-old son also lives with this young man.
So who cares?
Oh.
Well, that's all right. But you understand why he might be annoyed.
I do, but...
Okay. So now, understanding all that, I want you to tell me, because I'm not totally sympathetic with you, sir, because if you and your wife are divorcing, you're entitled to move on with your life, and so is she entitled to move on with your life. Where do you live? You live in an apartment?
I live in a condominium.
Okay. How long have you lived in the condo?
I've lived when we separated March of 2021.
And who do you live with?
I currently live with my...
No. Who do you live with is the question.
My older son.
And how old is he?
19.
And how many bedrooms are in the condo?
2.
And what about you? Have a girlfriend?
Yes, I do.
Ever stay over?
My house? No.
Do you ever stay at her house?
No.
Does she live with her children?
Yes.
And is she divorced?
Yes.
And she stayed in the house?
Yes.
You see how all these things go? It's just, as the world turns, it's just what happens. I've been there. Understand it all. Can either make it hard or difficult. Who pays the mortgage on the house?
Paid off.
Okay. So you have one teenage child, your wife has the other.
Yes.
And how close is the judgment to divorce to being finalized?
Not close.
Not close. Is that for financial reasons or custody reasons?
Financial.
Had to do with the house?
Yes.
Okay. How much is the house? I'm just fleshing this out.
Speculating.
Only because I'm a little bit of a yenta. Behind this purple robe is a little bit of a...
You know, with the housing market, being a CPA, you know, it's hard to say, you have to do, but I would say somewhere...
Why don't you give Sarah the address of the house, and we'll tell you what this estimate is.
California.
While she's looking that up, tell me when you and your wife purchased it.
2006, August of 2006.
And during the course of the marriage, were you employed all the time?
100%.
And what about your wife?
100%.
So you were both employed and both contributed to the house. Fair statement?
Yes.
Great. Okay.
It's 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. The estimate is $552,000.
And just for my own curiosity, what's the rub about the house?
The rub
Come on, it's simple.
The rub about the house is she's now went in and spent an ungodly amount of money on fixer-upper after I moved out and went into a massive amount of debt. The house was fully paid off. and she's now in massive debt. She's put in fixer.
No, don't look at her.
Okay, that's
look at me.
Okay,
so she's fixed up the house after you moved out.
Correct.
And?
It's not a problem.
Just a second. So what's the problem?
There is no problem with the house, meaning that we're still debating who's actually going to end up with the house. We haven't decided.
Well, whoever wants to be in the house buys the other one out.
Exactly.
For $260,000.
Correct.
Okay? It would seem to me that would be easy.
I think so.
Okay. Now that I've satisfied the yenta in me, I'm getting back to the case. All right. You called the police. This incident, according to what I read, Mr. Adamus, happened on November 5th?
Correct.
You went to the house to pick up your son?
Correct.
Okay. Was that a meeting that had been arranged before?
I have visitation every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks when?
Every other weekend.
Well, so was this a weekend?
Yes, that was one when I was going to go pick him up.
Okay. Had you spoken to him?
Yes.
And so he was expecting you to come at a certain time?
Absolutely.
What time?
Approximately there, we'd arranged about 7:15, that 7:15, 7:30 that night.
Okay. And you had visitation fixed by the court, and you had been enjoying that with your son for a period of time?
Correct.
Okay. What happened when you got there at 7:15?
Well, on that particular visit, my wife had taken his key to the house, and I had...
No. I told you, don't look at her.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay.
I'm getting sympathetic with her. I just want you to know that.
Okay.
7:15, you went to pick up your son, and you were annoyed because your wife had taken your son's key away from him.
Correct.
And you thought your son should have his key because he was 15.
Yes.
And?
So at that particular time,
No, don't look down.
Okay, look at me. I went into the house. I'd never been in that house since I moved out, and so I wanted...
How did you get into the house?
The door was open.
Okay, the door isn't wide open. You mean it was unlocked?
Unlocked.
Okay, so let's not say the door was open.
Okay,
the door was unlocked.
Correct.
Door was unlocked. You don't live there anymore. You live in a condo.
Correct.
Okay, did you ring the bell?
No.
Knock at the door?
Yes.
Nobody there's a bell. There's a bell.
There was a bell.
There's a bell.
Yes.
Didn't ring the bell. Open the door. Now, open the door.
Yes.
Your house, I own half of it. I'm going to ask my wife a question.
Yes.
Keep going.
Walked into the house. At that particular time, she is sitting there with my son. At that particular time, I asked her to get a copy of the key. And we became into an argument. She didn't want me to have a copy of the key. And I tried to explain to her, without a copy of the key, he can't get in the house. If I drop him off at odd hours, then you don't have to be home. So then she got upset. At that point, then I never met Mr. Albrecht before this time. He comes storming down the stairs. Mr. Albrecht I think Mr. Albrecht's coming to beat me up. He is storming down the stairs. I've since learned that Mr. Albrecht...
Just stop.
Okay.
Just pay careful attention to me. So far, you're in the wrong.
Okay.
Let me just tell you.
Okay.
So far, from a legal perspective,
right,
and a common sense perspective,
okay,
you're in the wrong. I'll explain why in a second.
So I walk into that house.
We got past that.
Okay.
We got past that. So now you want a copy of the key, and she says no. I don't care if you want to give it to your parakeet.
Okay.
You're not entitled to a copy of the key.
Okay.
Let's start right there.
Okay.
And let's start with my first point is if you're going there to pick up your son for a prearranged visit,
yes,
you don't walk into the house. You have a 15-year-old son. A 15-year-old son has a phone.
I tried to call him, yes.
Oh, you tried to call him. What happened?
He said he was there, he said...
Be very careful what you say to me.
Okay,
You
was
called
there.
your son.
And I called my son, be ready to go. He said, okay, I'm ready to go.
That was at about 7 o'clock.
Yes, approximately.
What do you mean, yes, approximately?
Yeah, I was probably on my way to pick him up. And so when I come up there, I call him on the phone.
Okay, he's ready to go.
Yes, are you ready to go?
Okay, so you walked in.
Okay.
You had no right to enter the house.
Did not know that.
Well, you had no right to enter the house. You knew that your wife changed the locks.
I did not know at that time she had changed the lock because the door was open. I had not been...
No. Listen to me. You went there because... Mr. Adonis, you have to be a two-process thinker, sir, before you give me a lot of baloney.
Wrongfully called the police while visiting his own house.
Okay, if you needed a copy of the key to a house that you partially own...
Yes.
You would have had a key to the house.
Correct.
You didn't need a copy to make because you would have had one.
Okay.
So you knew that your old key didn't open the house. Otherwise, you would have said, your mother took away your key. I'll make you another key from my copy.
True.
True. Of course it's true. So, so he called the police and he said you were trespassing.
No, he didn't say that at all.
What did he say?
He said he told me I was trespassing. Then he called on the phone, and when he's on the phone with the police department, he is telling them that I am now committing domestic violence. Now, that is a very serious charge. I mean, okay, we can debate about my access to the house, but when you call the police and say that I'm committing domestic violence, which is a crime in the state of California, that's a game changer. So
I want to ask you a question, Mr. Adonis. When you walked into the house and you saw your wife and your son, I want to know, when you walked in uninvited,
True.
Your first words were, I want a copy of the key. That's what you said. You said, I want a copy of the key. Would you read that back to me, please, Whitney?
I'll go with that.
At that particular time, I asked her to get a copy of the key, and we became into an argument.
So now you're in an argument, and you're a trespasser. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Okay.
This court is adjourned.
Very, very shocking.
She's absolutely correct, as she usually is.
I had no idea this was going to blow up into World War III.
Because he's all about winning. He didn't get his way. He was throwing a temper tantrum.
I feel that he's just trying to do whatever he can to keep me out of the picture.
He lives by his own rules.
He just simply wants me out of the way so he could take over.
Let the courts decide.
It's always so unfortunate when people divorce. I mean, the story is this. I could have written the script without even listening to the people. But they have two teenage boys, 15, 19 years old. One's chosen to live with the father. One's chosen to live with the mother. Clearly, the son said to him, Mom took away my key. Mm-hmm. She clearly took away his key for a reason. Mm-hmm. I didn't even want to get into what the reason was, but clearly she took away the key for a reason. Otherwise, she doesn't look like an unreasonable person. Her boyfriend doesn't look like an unreasonable guy. And he was flexing his muscles. Mm-hmm. And the fight is over the house because I gather that's the only real asset they have. Yeah. Anyway, unfortunate when people don't realize that they have to love their children.
Carrie Cargill is suing Joseph Simonet for car damage after Joseph's 15-year-old son hit Carrie's vehicle.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
Good morning.
Case 2138, Cargill versus Simonet.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Cargill, you and the defendant's son had an accident while you were driving your car, and Mr. Simonet's son was driving his electric scooter.
It was like a skateboard, a one-wheel skateboard.
Tell me your name.
Jacob Simonet.
Describe this vehicle that you were riding on.
It's got 2 spaces for your feet. Has one in the back, one in the front.
No, try to look at me. I'm trying to see you.
Oh.
Trying
There's
to
one in the
go
back,
like this.
one in the front, and then there's a big wheel in the center. And you put your feet on either side, and then it balances, and you ride it kind of like a skateboard.
Oh, I actually
had a
have
feeling
picture
you might
of
need it.
myself riding on one of those for about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
We bought it for one of my grandchildren years ago, but it's motorized.
Yes.
It has a motor.
It's electric.
And how fast does it go?
Tops out at about 17 miles an hour.
17.
Yes.
That's pretty fast. Are you required to drive that on the street where pedestrians walk or where cars ride?
On the sidewalk with the pedestrians.
Sidewalk.
Yes.
Do you drive it on the sidewalk?
Yes, I do.
Do you ever drive it in the street?
I do not.
Now you're going to tell me what happened on the date of this incident, which was August 17th.
This year, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was going south after work, and I was going to, crossing through the intersection. I had the green light.
Is there a chart?
Yes. Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, I was crossing the intersection.
You're the blue car.
I'm the blue car. And I had the green, it was going, and Jacob had cut through on the red into the green and slammed into the side of my car. He had cut through the intersection.
So he was in the street where the cars travel?
Yes.
Not on the sidewalk?
Right. He was not in the walkway.
Okay. Jacob, I want you to walk up to that sign and show me where you were when you and the plaintiff collided.
I was about right here.
You were in a crosswalk?
Yeah. I was in the crosswalk coming through and about
Okay,
right.
is that what, Jacob, is that what the police report is going to indicate? That you were in the crosswalk?
I don't know.
Well, I assume that there is a police report. Is that correct? Police report's going to tell me where the debris was, I assume. The debris is either going to be in a crosswalk or it's going to be in the street. Where do you think it's going to be?
Some of it was in the street.
Show me the street that you're talking about.
About like right
No,
here.
put your finger on it. Don't go around where it's...
About right here.
Right there. That would be in the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would be in the middle of the street where the cars travel, not in the crosswalk.
Yeah.
Yes. It's easy.
Sure.
How old is he?
15.
15. I've had a whole bunch of those who are 15. You know when they're telling a fib?
How?
When their mouths are moving.
He's a pretty good kid.
Yeah, all of my kids are pretty good kids. But you can always
Figure
tell.
it out, huh?
Yeah, you can usually tell. Is this your first only?
Both, first and only.
First and only. Oh, well, she probably had some experience with that anyway.
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay, and this happened at what time during the day?
I believe it was about 4, a little after 4, 4:30.
So it was light out.
Yes.
You collided with her car on the driver's side.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, on the door of the driver's side.
The fender.
Fender.
Yes.
Side fender?
Yes, side fender.
Okay. Not the front of the car.
The front fender of the car.
Front fender of the car on the side. I'm talking about it was the side or the front?
The side.
Side. So you collided with her.
Yes.
Because cars don't move sideways.
Yes.
He could have been quite seriously injured.
Yes, he could. He hit the side of the car and he flew up onto the hood and then kind of rolled across the hood, hit my windshield, and then fell onto the ground. And when I stopped, he jumped up, appeared at my window, and apologized, and then asked me if I was okay.
What did he say?
Just said he was sorry. And then he asked me if I was okay. And then I asked him if he was okay. And then he asked me if I was okay. And it went back.
So far, is that right?
Bit.
Yes.
Okay.
And which I was very impressed by, that he was more worried about me than anything else. I moved my car out of the road, onto the side of the road. There was an EMT that was across the street from us, and he came over and assessed him if there was any more damage. He got some road rash and things like that, but he was not seriously hurt, at least that we noticed at the time.
Do you have the police report?
I do.
I'd like to see it, please, Kevin. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One witness said that he was right next to you and that you went past him and that the light was red. His light was red, which is why he was stopped. That's what I'm reading. He did say that his light was red when the kid initially passed in front of him. Did you get a copy of this police report?
I've seen it, yes.
Explain to me, would you put on this again and leave that one on because that's the version that I believe. Would you walk over there and explain to me what cut the corner was, what you were doing? It talks about cutting the corners. So I want you to understand, I believe that, based upon what I'm reading here, I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
So now I want you to show me how you cut the corner.
So I was coming to this one, and I went through, and instead of going here and just going through the sidewalk, I just went like around here and through this crosswalk.
What's cut the corner?
Cut the corner here, right there.
You mean just that little space is what you're talking about? You cut the corner?
Yeah, I went from about...
I want you to understand, I believe that you were in the street. I believe you were in the street, not in a crosswalk. So let's run through that again. Would you please show me what cut the corner was?
Went through here, I came here, and I cut here. So right there, I cut the corner.
He is a nice boy, Mr. Simonet.
Thank you.
Carrie Cargill claims Joseph Simonet owes for damage after his 15-year-old son hit Carrie's car while riding an electric skateboard.
Okay. The police determined that based upon the eyewitness testimony that the pedestrian, Jacob, is at fault and believed to have crossed the intersection before having the right-of-way. The vehicle had the green light. In any event, do you have photographs of your car? This happened in August, and you were called to the scene by your son, is that right?
Correct.
And you got there, you know that he was a little banged up, but thankfully...
He was in an ambulance when I arrived, but shortly after, yes, he did walk out of the ambulance and suffered some injuries, which I have pictures of if you'd like to see them.
I'm sure he was banged up. He had bruises from falling off the...
From being launched from the vehicle after the collision, correct.
Okay. You know, he was really lucky that she wasn't going faster.
Correct. Could have been much worse. We were
thankful
for his health and the outcome of the incident.
You're right. Okay, can I see an estimate to fix your car, please? Thank you.
You're welcome.
What kind of a car do you have?
A 2015 Equinox Chevy.
You had full coverage on the car, is that right?
Yes.
But with a $1,000 deductible.
Yes.
So if you put this through to your insurance, you have a $1,000 deductible.
Yes.
Right? Anything else you want to tell me, Jacob?
No.
Do you still ride one of those things?
It's broken. I didn't get a new one, no.
It was destroyed in the accident.
You know what my father told me when he gave me my first car? I think I was 17. He bought me the oldest, ugliest car, but it was like a tank. All my other friends were getting these nice, cute little cars, and this one was like an old person's tank Cadillac or something. You know, we're talking 50 years ago. And I said, why do I have to have this car? Everybody else has cute cars. He said, because if you get in an accident, I want you to be surrounded by 4,000 pounds of steel. That's pretty much the lesson that I've sent out there. 4,000 pounds of steel. One and only, surrounded by lots of steel. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. Thank you, we're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Overall, I'm happy.
She had some fault due to hitting a pedestrian in a crosswalk.
It was surreal, like out of the movies.
Your heart stops, and all you can do is look for the car keys and panic and get there as fast as you can.
I am so glad that he was okay.
I remember just flying through the air, and then I was on the ground, and I got right up.
Be very careful.
Count your blessings and enjoy every moment that you have, because things could change in an instant.
I know these electric scooters and skateboards are very popular, but even before this case, I tried to look up any rules, laws, regulations. There are a few for electric motorbikes and things like that, but far fewer than I would expect for a machine that can go up to 17 miles an hour when you're 15.
I think that you're right. I think that since those things have become so popular, they really have to be enforced rules. And parents, and this is a very nice father and son, but I've seen kids weave in and out of cars. It always looked like an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah, and this one could have ended in a real tragedy.
He was lucky, and his father knew he was.
Case 2124, McPherson versus Hall. All parties, please step forward.
Gerald McPherson is suing his ex-girlfriend, Natasha Hall, for money she received during their relationship.
Mr. McPherson.
Yes.
How old are you, sir?
40.
What kind of work do you do?
Home care aid.
Independent, or do you work for a company?
Home care aid agency.
For an agency?
Yes.
How long have you been working for them?
About a year now, but I've been doing home care for about 3 years.
Prior to working for them the past year, and you're still working for them, is that right? Was there a period of time when you were unemployed?
Not more than maybe 3 weeks, but since I know Ms. Hall...
No, I don't want to know about Ms. Hall.
No, I'm telling you my employments that since I've lived in her residence, I've always worked. I worked at the zoo, Census Bureau.
Don't try to think ahead of me.
Okay.
There was a period of time in 2020, according to you, that you became homeless and were living in a shelter.
Yeah,
and that was in what month in 2020?
In June. So if I can explain the situation. I was living in a house that a slumlord wasn't doing the repairs. So I ended up forcing his hand, him selling the property, and the new landlord and my...
Could you look at me when you're talking?
I'm sorry. The new landlord and my other ex, they kept the property. I moved out. I went to a shelter because I didn't want nothing to do with her or the...
You're talking about her?
No, man.
Well, then don't keep pointing to her. I'm asking you...
I'm just pointing in general. I'm not pointing at her.
You actually pointed
to
her. When you were in the shelter, were you employed?
Yes, for the Census Bureau, doing the census. I was actually out in the field knocking on doors. I was an enumerator.
So you were not working in home health care, you were a census taker?
At that time, yes.
And did you have a child living with you?
Yes, well, not in the shelter, no. I could not have my daughter in the shelter.
How old is your daughter?
10.
And where is her mother?
She's deceased.
Where was your daughter living when you were in the shelter?
With my mother.
Is she living with you now?
She's been with me since June.
In a new apartment?
Yes, I moved in August 1st.
She goes to school from your apartment?
Yes.
Okay. In 2020, you became acquainted with Miss Hall, and there came a time shortly thereafter, uncross your arms, and there came a point shortly thereafter when you moved into her home.
In August, yes.
Of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And you remained in her home until what month and year?
August of 2022.
And in what month and year did you regain custody of your daughter?
June of 2022.
So there was a period of 2 months when you and your daughter lived in Miss Hall's home.
You could say that, but...
Well, I'm saying that because I just asked you a question about timeline.
No, because me and Miss Hall was going through our dispute about this money, my daughter was staying with my grandma. I only brought my daughter there on certain occasions.
When I say you regained custody of your daughter, was that a court order?
Yes, I have it right here.
Just a second. Was the child removed by court order from your custody?
It was removed because the house...
Don't tell me because.
Yes,
it was yes.
Yes.
I have lots of things to do today.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Child was removed from your custody.
Because I didn't have nowhere to live at the time.
Was the child removed from your custody before you moved into the shelter?
She was removed because I was in the shelter.
Did you take her to the shelter?
No, I was not allowed to because there's no men.
So at that time,
female
did she go and live with your mother?
Of course.
Was that by court order?
No, it was
brought her to your mother?
Yes.
May I see the court order that involves custody, please?
Here you go.
I'm not getting an answer.
This is the court order, and this is these two forms. Now, that court order is the current.
Shh. Okay, so the child was placed with the Commissioner of Social Services in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And the child was placed in kinship foster care, which is a program that I am very familiar with the child's paternal grandmothers. So in June of this year, the child was returned to your custody. At some point in August of this year is when you and the defendants separated and you left the house. This is your claim. Your claim is that you won a whole bunch of money in some gambling thing. What kind of gambling thing?
Gerald McPherson claims his ex-girlfriend, Natasha Hall, wrongfully spent the money he gave her for rent.
Your claim is that you won a whole bunch of money in some gambling thing. What kind of gambling thing? I want you to look at me when you talk, not at the papers.
No, I was going to...
In what kind of gambling thing did you win money?
I betted on 25 games.
What 25 games?
NBA, college, hockey.
Okay, and you bet where?
On FanDuel. It's an app called FanDuel.
Okay, and you won?
Yes.
I don't understand the whole thing. I don't want to learn the whole thing. I don't care about the whole thing. I just want you to tell me how much you won.
Before taxes or after?
Both.
Okay, $36,742, and after taxes, $26,889.
On what date?
So I won the bet on the 28th. It came into my account.
28th of what?
January.
Of what year?
This year.
And you had been living with Miss Hall for 2 years?
Prior, yes.
Okay, and you were working according to you all of that time?
Yes.
Okay, good. Were you paying any rent to Miss Hall?
I have receipts.
Yes, I want to see those. How much rent were you paying?
So when I met Miss Hall...
I don't want to go back to the year, Gimmel, sir. All I want you to do is tell me how much rent you were paying her.
To be honest, I had to pay
I don't know. I want you to
rent.
be dishonest with me.
Half her rent is like $425, and she had me pay half the gas and half the electric and half the cable.
Her rent was $425?
No, it's $850. I had to split it. We're paying half and half.
Miss Hall?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
I do customer service.
And who else lives in the apartment with you?
My children.
How old are they?
14 and 13.
How large is the apartment?
It's a 2-bedroom.
And the total rent is $850?
Yes, ma'am.
There's no subsidy involved?
No subsidy at all.
Okay. And you have a lease?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you charge, if anything, Mr. McPherson as rent?
$425.
Well, that doesn't quite sound fair, does it? Did she make a figure with you of $425?
I paid more than that. I paid $425. That's half of the rent. I paid half of the electric and half of the internet bill.
There are 4 people in the house.
Yes.
Right? Why is he paying for...
only 2 people.
Why was he paying for half the rent?
Oh, my children don't work, and his child didn't work either.
His child wasn't with you?
The child came with us in June, but she had visitations on weekends.
I don't care if she has visitations. Your children live with you.
Yes.
They don't have to work. They're your children. They're not his responsibility. Okay, I just want to know where everybody's head is at. There came a point, Ms. Hall, when Mr. McPherson gave you $6,000 in cash.
No, not in cash.
Check.
No, both of them was wired. One was directly wired into our Bank of America account.
What? Just a second. When?
The first transaction was on January 31st. The second transaction...
January 31st of?
This year. And the second transaction was the next day, February 1st. $12,000 total.
Do you acknowledge, Ms. Hall, receiving $12,000 in your account from Mr. McPherson, or do I have to look at his records?
I do not acknowledge. He gave me $6,000 and $4,500.
$6,000 and $4,500, Mr. McPherson. Does that sound right?
No, it's not right, and I'm going to show you.
Let me see your bank record.
All right, hey,
and
sir.
Let us assume that it's $6,000 and $4,500 that he gave you in this year, 2022.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. Let us assume for the moment that you're correct, because you're suing for $6,000.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, because the first initial $6,000 was 8 months' rent. That I'm not.
Let us assume that you are correct, that he gave you $6,000 and $4,500. I'm taking you at face value. In January and February of 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
What was the money for?
That he gave me?
Yes. The two different amounts of money.
Yes.
There's a $6,000 and a $4,500.
$4,500 was for me to pay my car note off. And
hey, just a second.
Go ahead.
Why would he pay your car note off?
He said he wanted to.
Oh, no. That's ridiculous. Ms. Hall, let me just check.
Can I say something?
No.
He even wrote that on there for your car note.
No, you said in January he won a bet and cashed it out. A few days later, he gave me money via Cash App to catch up on his rent and as a thank you for helping him out. I don't see anything here about gift for a car note in your answer.
So he gave me the money for the car note, and as far as the cat money, lots of times. So, yes.
No, I'm talking about the $6,000, madam.
Yes.
Let us assume he gave you $4,500 to pay off your car note. That's what you said.
Correct.
What's the $6,000 for?
The $6,000 was for us to move.
For who to move?
Me and him.
Show me.
The $6,000?
Yeah, show me that there's proof. He says he gave you the money according to his complaint to hold for him.
Yes.
Shh. Just a second. Yeah, February 3rd, he gave you $6,000. This just says he gave it to you.
Yes.
And?
And he told me to hold it so we can move.
Well, you didn't move.
No,
you didn't. Shh. He told you to hold it for him so that you could all move.
No.
So who could move?
So me and him and our children could move.
Well, that's what I just said.
I apologize.
So that we can move.
Correct.
But you didn't move together.
Correct.
So you have to give him his money back. That's simple.
Thank you.
That's simple. If you say he gave you the money so that the two of you could move and that event never took place, but he in fact moved out, you owe him $6,000.
But then he agreed.
Just a second. That's an easy. Okay. Do I have to deal with anything else? Money for lost wages, rent, utilities? Forget it. He paid all of that with the $4,500 when he paid off your car note. Come on, let's get it together. Lost wages. What are the lost wages for?
But then I had to take off from work because of the PFA, and I had to take off from work to go file out the court and things like that. But in the midst of him saying the $6,000, he didn't pay rent. He didn't pay all of his rent.
He paid off your car note. You owe him $6,000. Your counterclaim's dismissed. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Okay.
This court is adjourned.
Well, I don't agree with the judge's decision. I don't think I owe him the money.
That's what women do.
Because he gave me a gift and he didn't pay rent.
I also spent $2,000 on her in gifts.
What's done is done.
I'm taking a break from women for quite some time now.
So I'm glad that the plaintiff's daughter didn't have to go into the larger foster care system and was able to stay with plaintiff's mother. But I was curious that if this was a temporary slip-up and he wasn't going to be permanently without housing, why wouldn't he go with his daughter to his mother's house? I was surprised you didn't ask him that question.
You're right. You're right. Yeah. That's a curious question.
To me, it just seemed like it might have been a better situation to crash at your mom's house with your daughter
with
for
your
a while,
daughter.
But
I'm not sure whether I have that whole story because they continued the child in care for a period of time, at least for almost 2 years, because he didn't have custody of her while he was living with the defendant.
Well, one easy part of the case was that he was owed his $6,000 back. That's all we had to deal with.
Yeah, that was easy. Once she got her hands on that $6,000 and he was no longer in the picture, it was hard for her to give up.
Hello guys, assalamu alaikum. Welcome to my channel. Again আপনাকে স্বাগতম জানাচ্ছি আমার নতুন আরো একটি ভিডিওতে। আশা করি আপনারা ততক্ষণ সুস্থ রয়েছেন, ভালো রয়েছেন আর আপনাদের দিনকাল অবশ্যই ভালো যাচ্ছে আশা করি। আসলে মহাকর্ষীয় বিভবটা আসলে কি এটা তো আমরা অলমোস্ট সবাই জানি। তবু আমরা একবার সংজ্ঞাটা পড়ে মনে করার চেষ্টা করি। অসীম দূরত্ব থেকে একক ভরের কোনো বস্তুকে মহাকর্ষীয় ক্ষেত্রের কোনো বিন্দুতে আনতে সম্পূর্ণ কাজের পরিমাপকে ওই বিন্দুর মহাকর্ষীয় বিভব বলে। আচ্ছা, ব্যাখ্যা: এম ভরের কোনো বস্তুকে অসীম থেকে মহাকর্ষীয় ক্ষেত্রের কোনো বিন্দুতে আনতে যদি ডাব্লিউ পরিমাণ কাজ সম্পূর্ণ হয় তবে ওই বিন্দুর মহাকর্ষীয় বিভব ভি ইকুয়াল টু ডাব্লিউ ডিভাইডেড বাই এম, ক্যাপিটাল ডাব্লিউ স্মল এম। ওকে, আচ্ছা, অসীমে মহাকর্ষীয় বিভবকে শূন্য ধরা হয় যেহেতু বিভব হচ্ছে কাজ ডিভাইডেড বাই ভর এবং কাজের দিক নেই, সুতরাং মহাকর্ষীয় বিভবের কোনো দিক নেই। আচ্ছা, এটি একটি স্কেলার রাশি। আচ্ছা, মাত্রা ও একক সমীকরণ থেকে দেখা যাচ্ছে কাজের মাত্রাকে ভরের মাত্রা দিয়ে ভাগ করলে ভি এর মাত্রা পাওয়া যায়। তারপরে আপনার অর্থাৎ এল পাওয়ার টু টি ইনভার্স টু কাজের এককে ভরের একক দিয়ে ভাগ করলে মহাকর্ষীয় বিভবের একক পাওয়া যায়। তারপরে সুতরাং মহাকর্ষীয় বিভবের একক হচ্ছে জে কে জুল কেজি ইনভার্স 1। তারপরে মহাকর্ষীয় ক্ষেত্রে প্রবাল্য ও মহাকর্ষীয় বিভবের সম্পর্ক। এখানে ধরা যাক এ বিন্দুতে বিন্দু ভর এম অবস্থিত, এম এর মহাকর্ষীয় ক্ষেত্রের মধ্যে আর দূরত্ব বি একটি বিন্দু এ বি যোগ করি। অনেক পড়াশোনা ভাই, সো এত পড়াশোনা করলে তো ভালো লাগে না। সো আপনারা থাকবেন ততক্ষণ ভালো। আল্লাহ হাফেজ।